myself, I have been talking about for months. It just seemed like the writing was on the wall. And the one argument that I kept hearing was this $18 million roughly buyout that was kind of hanging overhead. And it appears trying now, this again came directly from the athletic director of Kansas State yesterday. They are trying to fire Jerome Tang with cause. Now, do I think that that will hold up under scrutiny? No, I do not. But Gene Taylor seems to think it is worth the old power of the job. He's been there since 2017. Of course, he's the one that hired Jerome Tang. And it's crazy to me to look at this situation from a, you know, not necessarily holistically, but from where this thing started, right? I mean, it looked like they were doing some decent things in year one, and then it seemed like the catalyst, the match that lit the fire for Jerome Tang's early tenure with the Wildcats was that win against KU. If we all remember, that was back in that 2022-23 season. They were number 2 or 3 team in America at that point. I think they won a tight game by like 1 point. And Jerome Tang jumped on the scores table, like grabbed the microphone and he talking about a court storming, like you guys should expect to win now. And he was able to kind of put his money where his mouth was, at least later on that season, right? Running to the Elite Eight, where they eventually lost, at Madison Square Garden. And it felt like this K-State basketball program can only go up from here, right? I mean, that was what a remarkable first season. Jerome Tang has got all the guys in place. I mean, to do what he did that season, to transform several guys on that team into superstars, right? I mean, the Noel.
Yeah, but he was electric. That was the Keontae Johnson comeback year, wasn't it? Yeah.
And it seems to me, and like I'm sure to many K-State fans, like the future is going to be very, very bright for Jerome Tang and this Wildcats men's basketball program. Unfortunately, things took the complete opposite turn, right? I mean, I've talked about it repeatedly in the evening about how you usually, when you see a coach come in year one, even when they're successful, it's never, I mean, an Elite Eight berth in year one is that's rare air for a first year head coach. And if they do, you expect it to get incrementally better. But if it doesn't reach the goals that they had in mind when they first made the hire, then the situation ends there. But for Jerome Tang to come out in year one and finish third in the Big 12, go 26-10, and get to the Elite Eight was remarkable. And then things are supposed to build. You're supposed to be able to put more blocks on top of it and keep this thing going. And I think most K-State fans were like, wow, an Elite Eight in year one, how much, are we going to have to wait very long before we see a Final Four for this Wildcats team? Never happened, right? The next year, 19-15, you get to the first round of the NIT, you lose. You got blown out in your first round of the Big 12 tournament that year. And it felt like the first sign of the foundation cracking came in that season, in year two. The CJ Otzelberger incident, where they were screaming at each other during the game, and then after the game, there was a confrontation in the handshake line. Jerome Tang was accusing Iowa State of, filming their huddles during timeouts and things like that. And after that, you went 4-8 over your last 12 games after you had a really good start to the year. Tried to turn things around the following season with NIL and all that. They brought Coleman Hawkins over from Illinois. They paid him big money after he was an outstanding player for the Fighting Illini. And it didn't happen. You went 6-5 during your non-conference schedule. You started Big 12 play 1-6. And again, things devolved rapidly that season. And this season, it never really clicked. I mean, they started 5-0, but they didn't really play anybody, right? They lost a narrow game to Nebraska in that sixth game of the year, which in hindsight is a pretty damn good loss because Nebraska is shocking everybody with their play right now. And I mean, this is something that I think everybody saw coming, thought that it was necessary. It was the buyout. That was the concern, right? This $18 million buyout before the season ended. And now, according to Gene Taylor, they're trying to fire him for cause. As I said earlier, I don't think it's going to hold up. They're going to have to pay him that money. But he mentioned this language that is in his contract about potentially bringing embarrassment to the program and to the university. And let's face it, Jerome Tang has done a little bit of that over the last couple of months, over the last few weeks, the last month plus, when it came to, I mean, it really kind of started with his, blaming the conference, and then he turned around and blamed the NCAA for changing the rules as if they only changed the rules for Jerome Tang and Kansas State, not everybody else. And then, of course, recently it's been the way that he's gone about discussing his players in these post-game press conferences, talking about how it was embarrassing and they don't deserve to wear the uniform, and a lot of these guys aren't going to be wearing the uniform next year. And of course, their last game, that loss on the road to Houston this weekend, which, I mean, were they ever really in the game? No, but they were much more in the game than they have been recently. He said afterwards that they didn't have the names on the back of the jersey. They more or less didn't deserve it at that point. They talked about, and I saw this via social media, so I don't know if it's entirely true, that he didn't have his coaches scout the game at all. He had the players scout the game.
It's like what a power-hungry dad who coaches a little league team does, like when the boys aren't focused. You know what I mean? Like this is, look, anytime a coach, especially a college coach, starts whining about the landscape or the conference or the rules, they're either retired, like Nick Saban on a pregame show, or they're about to be fired. 100%. Yeah.
Covering Missouri State athletics before I made the move back up to this area. And before they rehired Conzo Martin to be their head coach, Dana Ford had been there. He was a player at Illinois State. He bounced around as an assistant coach for a while. And he was the coach at Missouri State for 5 or 6 years. And that last year, you could see it, right? He was getting sticky with media members. You see rude during press conferences, refusing to answer questions. He had a stipulation in his contract at Missouri State, as I'm sure many coaches do through Deerfield, where he was contractually obligated in part to do like a post-game radio interview, win or loss. And he just wouldn't show up for some of them towards the end when they were really starting to struggle and everybody saw the writing on the wall. Just there's certain things that a coach does, blaming opposing teams, blaming conference. It's just what they do. They'll put the blame on everybody but themselves, which is what coaches typically do when you're winning or when your job security is strong, but when you begin to see that, okay, my time here is probably finite, what do I need to do to stick around? Well, you try to blame as many things as possible in the hopes that one of them sticks, that one of them has just enough gravitational pull that it distracts people in that direction. And you kind of get to step aside, right? In football, it's typically a coordinator, right? More often than not, a coach will start to put onus on a coordinator, and they get fired as a quote-unquote scapegoat for their situation. College basketball coaches don't necessarily have that option, so they just try to latch blame onto anything they can possibly find. I still don't think it's going to work, right? I mean, Jerome Tang has certainly done some things that have been embarrassing. My argument is I think it's been a little bit more so embarrassing for him than for the university. Frankly, I think firing Jerome Tang or attempting to fire Jerome Tang with cause is more embarrassing for the university than anything that Jerome Tang did during his tenure with the Wildcats.
If I was a Kansas State fan, as somebody who isn't a Kansas State fan but still likes and watches and enjoys local sports teams, I wanted him gone after that press conference, right? I don't think that's something that a coach that is secure in his job gets up there and says. I don't really think you can carry a locker room after that. I don't think you can convince players in this new NIL landscape to come in and play for you when, if they lose a game, you're going to call them out by name in front of the media. That's not an embarrassment to the university, though, right? Like, we've seen coaches put hands on kids. We've seen coaches do way worse things at colleges. Just giving a bad press conference is not anywhere near cause. So I understand the university not wanting to pay that amount to him, but in my opinion, this does way more to damage their coaching search and to embarrass them as a university for trying to do that publicly than it does to actually save the money. I don't think they have a chance to do that.
I listen to press conferences once a week with coaches that have much better job security. I mean, I urge you, if you think that what Jerome Tang has done in his post-game press conferences is cause to be fired and negate his $18 million buyout, please listen to, I don't know, 45 seconds of a Dan Hurley interview, post-game press conference.
It's exactly the name I was thinking. Mm-hmm.
That man lets it fly during his post-game pressers. I mean, it curses up one side and down the other. I want to know how much the Big East is fining that man on a week-to-week basis for what he says in those post-game pressers. But is that grounds to fire Dan Hurley with cause? No. Not to mention that you finally have to do that.
It's also just the way of the sport. Like in football too, you get a coach to come coach for you based on a couple of, like, you want to assure them you're going to make a certain investment year over year in the portal. But they also know that if this thing fails, I'm getting a large bonus paid out to me. Like, it's just kind of the way. Like, how many times has, like, LSU eaten a big buyout for a coach in the last few? Like, it's Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. Like, there's all this money left on the table to be figured out after a coach leaves all the time. I just don't know who, like, not that K-State was going to have their pick of the litter anyway. They've been terrible. They've been getting worse and worse since that Elite Eight run. So I don't know who they were looking at anyway, but I don't want to work for Gene Taylor after that statement. I mean,
Viable candidates that KC could bring in to try to revitalize this program, right? Who are some of those bigger names, maybe some of those under the radar guys that will try to get this K-State basketball team back on track? 913-586-7965 is our number here on this, I would say, abbreviated version of Fesco and Dusty, live from 8 to dive in this morning. Logan Weber alongside Nathan Williams. You're listening to 96.5 The Fan, your home for Kansas City sports.
That's a cool drop.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Both for you and your partner. When erectile dysfunction ruins sex, which can often have serious impacts on your relationship as well. This is just a part of it. And if ED is a problem in your life, you'll understand the impact of it. I'm here to tell you, it's a treatable condition, and almost without exception, you can have really good sex again. At Heartland Men's Health, we're experts in treating ED. We've treated tens of thousands of men with protocols that are effective well over 90% of cases. Which means if you're like most guys, good sex will be the goal. It can even last up to an hour or more and bring a level of intimacy for you and your partner that might just astound you both. It's time to have really good sex again. So call us. Just $99 to get you blood work, a medical consult, and a medically advised big test dose. If that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices: Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City.
So, you're ready to propose, huh?
Yeah, man. Definitely the one.
What are we thinking about the ring? I got my wife's at Helzberg. I could recommend a better jeweler. I could use some help with that. Man, go to Helzberg. I had no idea how many details you need to consider. Did you know you can get a natural or lab-grown diamond? I didn't. Figure out what she wants. Trust me, she'll make it happen.
Start your story with Helzberg. Shop in store or at Helzberg.com.
Need to sell your house in Kansas City but not sure where to start? Selling a home can feel overwhelming, especially if you're facing foreclosure, a divorce, an inherited property.
Just saw your text. Thank you.
You don't have to figure it out alone. Rex 5 KC is here to help. As a local home
I just remembered I have a buddy from Springfield that writes for the Topeka Capital Journal. I'm going to shoot him a text and see if we can maybe get him on in the 9 o'clock hour to talk about all of this and maybe some of the candidates that he's pointing, because he has an article about some of the candidates for the job. So
Cool.
we'll see if he's awake.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. That sounds good.
You're ready to talk through your options. Call me today at 816-330-6000 or visit rex5kc.com. Let's find the right solution for you. Rex 5 KC. Local, fair, and focused on you. At Liberty Mutual, we love what banks like. Just a
At the UPS store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still going on. Still enjoy the discounts and still be up on stamps and supplies. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open and happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS store. Be unstoppable. Did you hear? Allstate car insurance now costs even less. So when you bundle with home, you can save even more. Check Allstate first to bundle and save with a new lower auto rate. You're in good hands with Allstate. Not available in every state. Only applicable for new auto insurance business. Rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings may vary. Allstate North American Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, Royals fans, it's Vern. It's February. You know what time it is. Spring training meant Royals baseball is back on 96.5 The Fan. I'll be down in Arizona with the boys in blue, joining all 3 shows throughout the week. I'll have my hot stove show every Thursday night at 6 o'clock. And if you can't be there and surprise with me, I'll post videos on 96.5 The Fan's social media accounts. So you don't even need to leave the couch to watch your favorite players in action. This is your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan.
It's Tang, gang. It's Tang.
can always rely on Drew to have something crazy in the drive folder.
Yeah, I'd wear a paper bag too if I was them. Thanks a lot, fellas. God bless.
Respectfully closing it out. I like that. Oh, yeah, that's the news of the day. Kansas State officially announces the firing of Jerome Tang less than 4 years into his tenure with the Wildcats. Spent a lot of time talking about it to begin our show today. I'm going to try to see if I can get on. I got a buddy of mine from my Springfield days, Wyatt Wheeler, who writes for USA Today and the Topeka Capital Journal, covers Kansas State. So he's been a part of this situation. He was at the presser last night. He's, thrown some names around, some suggestions about possible candidates to replace Jerome Tang in Manhattan. And I'm curious, and I'd love to get some feedback in the text line, 913-586-7965. Who are some candidates that you think of immediately as guys that could come in and try to right the ship that is the Kansas State men's basketball program? I got a 918 who says, bring Bob Huggins back to K-State. I don't remember if it was this weekend or maybe last weekend, but he was at an Akron basketball game. Huggy Bear looked rough in that game. Just in the stands. I mean, he's what? He's got to be in his 70s at this point, right? Yes.
I mean, didn't he? And no hate towards anything he was going through at the time, but I think he had to sit on a stool the last few years he was there too. What I'm saying is, before he was out there, it was already looking like it was declining, right? But obviously, yeah, a lot of off the court stuff going on. Yes. Uh-huh.
Saw what he did at Indiana State. Before he took the job at SLU, he brought a bunch of his guys from Indiana State over to St. Louis. He'd be an interesting fit, certainly. Somebody said K-State will pull K-State and have Jacob Pullen come in and coach. If not, Colin Klein will coach football and basketball. I recognize that name. He was what, a former player at K-State, right? I think he might still be playing somewhere overseas. So Mark Turgeon, he kind of just got a job. He's also a KU guy. But, bringing that point up, one of the names I've already heard thrown around is Brett Ballard. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with him. He is the head basketball coach at Washburn, where he has been pretty successful, I would argue. They went to the Final Four last year. They were 30-4. They are among the best teams in the Division II ranks now. And as somebody who comes from the Division II rank, I went to Northwest.
I'll know how important sex is in a...
You're listening to Logan Weber and Nathan Williams on your Nathan Williams. Nathan Williams on your...
I've heard Chris Wilson's name thrown around. He's at DePaul now.
Jacob Poland is still playing at the age of 36 in Italy. Have you been around long enough to know that you don't speak negatively about K-State on the air? Yeah, you don't do that compared to any of the other local teams. If you have a bad thing to say about K-State, take it off the air. Otherwise, the text line, Twitter, they're riled up out there in Manhattan. Yeah.
Moderate success. Not only black watch firm, but someone who's traditionally over 500. I think that they could very easily go find a D2 guy that's had tremendous success. I mean, it's a major conference. I mean, it's a high major job.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, the undoing of Jerome Tang. And why John Calipari's teams at Kentucky had kind of boom or bust. You bring in these massive freshman classes of one and done guys, you have a finite amount of time to put it together versus these 3 or 4 year players where you've got a year or two to work these guys together and get that team chemistry built. Sometimes.
Well, I mean, you led the show talking about the first season, how much success they had, how much fun that run was, too. It was unexpected. That was the year the tournament was just all sorts of jumbled up. We had, like, FAU and San Diego State and all those teams going to the Final Four. That game, was it at the Garden they played against Michigan State? Is like one of the all-time classic tournament games. Like, it was so much fun to watch. I don't care who you're a fan of. But I don't think K-State fans or the program held him to that standard. But I think it's missing 3 straight consecutive times after that. So in that sort of volatile market that you're describing, where you have that 1 year opportunity, you don't have the chance to gel those kids together. There's going to be some misses, but it's been all misses since that tournament run. 18-32 in the conference. That's a 360 winning percentage since that run. It's just not good enough.
913-586-7965. We'll talk more about the Jerome Tang situation, possible candidates for replacement throughout our program here this morning. But coming up, we're going to have Jordan Foote from Heavy Sports on with us. We're going to talk some Chiefs, free agency, the draft, and much more. That's next. Stick around. Logan Weber alongside David Williams. You're listening to 96.5 Fan. Ford has just announced an additional $2,000 in bonus cash that they're passing on to you, our customers. That's our large difference. Save you thousands. You can save up to $9,000 off business RP on $5,000 off MSRP on 25 Broncos. $6,000 off MSRP on 25 Broncos Ford. And $5,000 off MSRP on 25 Expeditions. And that's one thing. China Mission Ford on a mission to do more in 22.
You love seafood. Pull up anchor and set sail for IB's annual Fish and Seafood Sale. Get a whale deal on all your favorites for less. Salmon, trout, and catfish. You love shrimp, crab legs, and lobster mac and cheese. Eating seafood twice a week has major health benefits. Count on IB to sell only the freshest seafood, backed by the responsible choice guarantee. All hands on deck for the annual seafood sale going on now at IB.
One thing I love doing is going to Hy-Vee. I love going up and down the aisles and finding everything I need. Sometimes we're just very busy with two girls in high school right now. We are swamped, so we use Hy-Vee's aisles online. I go to the Hy-Vee app or at Hy-Vee.com. I choose the store I want. I select my item, and then Hy-Vee does all the shopping for me. All I have to do is pick it up, or better yet, have it delivered to my home. So I'm going to save time and I'm going to save money. What could be better? Only at Hy-Vee.
The last 3 days of the winter sale is happening now at Peter's Clothiers. Save up to 50% off all suits, sport coats, and sportswear. Save big with sizes to fit every man. Peter's Clothiers, 124th and State Line Road.
Having unexpected car trouble or just need a car accident? Call Jake Southland Tow Service, 816-779-4869 or southlandtow.com. It's the tow service trusted by most local police departments. They can do it all. Be in the know and call Jake Southland Tow.
The second I see that Chick-fil-A text me group chat, I'm throwing my shoes on and running out the door. Hey, I'm Layla, and I'm Keela. And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit is how it feels like an easygoing morning. The chicken adds the most flavor to the chicken. I also love sweet jelly on mine with savory to start to the day. Mornings are a little bit fresh with the Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit and quickly on soup. Available on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests, taste, or testimonials. Well, good morning, kiddo. I love that you're home from college. I do.
Still taking your Nature-Made vitamin?
Every day. A multivitamin and a probiotic.
Hey Jordan, this is Nathan, 96.5. How you doing? Doing good, man. Doing good. I know Logan appreciates it. I appreciate your time. So just thanks again, man. All right, buddy. Jordan's good to go.
Awesome. Thank you.
I also love sweet jelly on mine with savory to start to the day. Mornings are a little bit brighter with the Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit and quickly on soup. Available on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests, taste, or testimonials.
When it's time to replace your appliances, Lowe's has you covered. Get up to 40% off select major appliances. And members get more like free delivery, haul away, basic installation and parts, and a 2-year Lowe's protection plan where you spend $2,500 or more on select major appliances. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 2/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. Excludes Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Jersey, and Florida. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Lowe's.com/terms and conditions. Subject to change.
From Kansas State to Kansas City, let's talk some Chiefs. Off-season, quietly approaching the start of free agency. And on the line with us right now is Jordan Foote. He is a writer for Heavy Sports. He's covered the Kansas City Chiefs for many, many years now. And Jordan, you know, I'm curious. First things first, before we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, okay? You're an NBA guy. I'm an NBA guy. What did we think of the All-Star format last night?
I thought it was better than expected, and maybe it's because my expectations were just super low, and I thought that Adam Silver's answer for everything seems to be some sort of tournament. They're nicknaming him Tournament Man. And NBA Twitter had so much other stuff going on that it kind of distracted me from the fact that the All-Star game is even happening. And the same thing happened with the three-point shootout, the dunk contest, everything being relatively early this weekend threw another wrench in there, but I kind of enjoyed it. I hate to inform everybody that I did think it was kind of cool. It felt more competitive, and maybe that's because the young guns like Ant-Man and Wemby were going pretty hard in the All-Star game, but better than it was in the past. I still don't know if it's a long-term solution per se, but did turn out a bit better than I anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the whole, sort of U.S. versus the world format, sort of their own unique take on what the NHL did a couple of years ago. Just something to kind of draw in more people. It looked like, there were certain guys, Anthony Edwards and Victor Wembanyama were two that kind of stood out to me a little bit more than others. It seemed like guys were actually, competing for once in an all-star format, which is kind of a nice change of pace.
Yeah, no doubt. And when you go with a shorter format in the round robin style and you're putting the different teams against each other, I think it is fun. And when it was on paper, I just didn't like the concept that I missed the old East and West days. And I think even now with Jason Tatum not healthy, and all about that, yet, not healthy yet, let's say, it would have looked different with an East versus West type thing. And I do think that there is some intriguing talent on both sides, but I'm not sure what the long-term answer is. And we go back and forth with this in the NFL Pro Bowl. I do think now there might be a tiny bit of distance created, especially with the NFL embracing kind of this flag football type ambiance where it's more of a glorified vacation than anything else, and that's fine. But I do miss the quote-unquote good old days that now make me feel a little bit older than I should.
I think there are many, including myself, that also would agree with your sentiment there. But let's get into some conversation about the Chiefs. We haven't had a chance to catch up since the latest coaching hire in Kansas City. The Andy Reid and the Chiefs bringing DeMarco Murray to the team as their running backs coach. I'm curious, what are your first thoughts on the move for a guy that had some success as a running back in the NFL and has spent a great deal of time coaching it at the college level? What do you think of him making the leap to the NFL and doing it in Kansas City?
I think it's really intriguing. And the first thing that jumped out to me was, and this is really a microcosm of Twitter in a nutshell, but the Chiefs section of Twitter, everyone was campaigning for someone outside the Andy Reid tree, right? Let's go make this move that's not Eric Bieniemy coming back to coach the running backs or bringing McCullough back from the Raiders, and that was rumored for a while after they tried to get in contact with him. But then once it happened, the sentiment for a lot of people was, well, I didn't mean that outside the tree hire. We can't be too picky with do we want change? Do we want new ideas? Do we want fresh concepts, new blood in that coaching staff? I really think not just with the Murray hire, but overall the Chiefs made a ton of change on that coaching staff over the course of this offseason. Then maybe the finer details aren't going to make up the Super Bowl contender, but I do think if you could steal even one game during a 17-game regular season where your wide receivers are at the right depth or they're catching the ball a little bit better, maybe your running backs are taking the correct angles. The personnel does need to improve, absolutely, but I do think bringing in guys like DeMarco Murray, bringing Eric Bieniemy back, even though he might not bring the fresh, crazy offensive ideas, I do think the overall philosophy and the quality control, so to speak, does matter. So it's TBD on how well DeMarco Murray is going to fare. I think that hindsight will probably reflect how good or bad that hire was, but he has the requisite experience as a player on the field. He's held some coaching roles since leaving the NFL, and I do think that if I had to sum it up in one word, I would say intrigued by that hire.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to see a running backs coach and a wide receivers coach that, I don't know, have coached running backs or wide receivers before, let alone played it. So talking about DeMarco Murray and the running back position for the Kansas City Chiefs, Nate Taylor of ESPN has reported that it's more likely than not that Isaiah Pacheco will not be on this team next year. I think same goes for Kareem Hunt. So you're looking at a situation where you've got an offensive coordinator that's a former running back, a new running backs coach, and a running back room that is pretty bare right now. Of the options in free agency that currently exist, the Travis Etiennes, the Breece Halls, Kenneth Walkers, who's the guy that you think is the best fit in that room to be the lead back? And is that maybe the most likely scenario, or is there a guy that jumps out at you that is maybe a better fit financially for this team?
Do you want to hear a couple stats real quick before I jump into the free agency class? So I'm on Sumer Sports right now. Their database is pretty interesting. 49 running backs had 100 or more carries this past season. One, Kareem Hunt was 47th in explosive run rate. Isaiah Pacheco was 46th. And of that group, nobody faced fewer defenders in the box on average than Isaiah Pacheco. So it is not going to take a ton to upgrade from this running back room. And I would say if they do end up bringing back Kareem Hunt, it wouldn't be the end of the world as a short yardage goal line type back. And everyone points to like the success rate and the EPA and all the nerdy stats. That's really inflated by the situation team is used in, but they could do worse as a RB2, 2.5 than Kareem Hunt, maybe even running back 3. But in the free agent market, I'm not sure they're going to get a Breece Hall. I'm not sure they're going to get a Kenneth Walker. Maybe the cutoff is like a Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle. Like, I just am not totally convinced that financially they're going to be able to swing one of those top guys. And this is low-hanging fruit, but I think it's just a near-perfect fit with what the Chiefs like to do and what they would want to do in the passing game. Kenneth Gainwell's coming off a career year for Pittsburgh. He's going to be 27 coming in next season. He played really well. Aaron Rodgers just absolutely raved about him throughout the year. He can catch out of the backfield. He had his best season there receiving. Looks pretty good running the ball, and I don't think that keeps you from using one of your first draft picks on a running back, whether you do get absolutely crazy and take Jeremiah Love at the 9th overall pick. I've seen Emmett Johnson. His name has been brought up pretty often as a day 2 selection. That would be a nice floor upgrade, a ceiling upgrade as well, and keep you in not only the price range of not kind of putting yourself in a bad position financially for free agency the rest of the way, but also giving you a chance to maybe add a talented rookie to the mix as well.
Kenneth Gainwell, that's a name I haven't heard thrown out there. I mean, that's a more realistic option. Absolutely. You're not going to break the bank for him. And I love your mention of Emmett Johnson. That's a guy I've been an advocate for of the Chiefs drafting. The only knock against him for me is that he unfortunately went to the University of Nebraska. That's maybe the only thing I hold against the guy. But the last question I've got for you, Jordan, is I saw an article via ESPN. They were throwing out these different trade possibilities, as they typically do this time of year. The article came from Bill Barnwell, and he made a suggestion of the Los Angeles Rams as a trade partner for Trent McDuffie. In the trade, he's got McDuffie and a 5th-round pick in 2027 going to the Rams in exchange for the Rams' 1st-round pick this year. I'm curious from your perspective, is that a solid return for Trent McDuffie? And is it something that, if it were a possibility, the Chiefs should strongly consider?
I go back and forth with the trade Trent McDuffie thing every day, and there's a really interesting simulator. It's called Stick to the Model that has kind of been making its rounds on Twitter over the past couple weeks. And you can run an entire off-season simulation, and you can extend people, you can restructure deals, you can go through free agency, draft, everything. Some of those I've traded Trent McDuffie, some of those I've kept him and extended him. One of those I just left his contract untouched and said you're going to play on the 5th-year option and revisit the negotiation table in the future. I think it was Joel Corey of CBS Sports a few months ago, must have been in December, former NFL agent. He seems fairly confident that if the Chiefs did trade Trent McDuffie, they would fetch a 1st-round pick and something else in return. I don't share quite the same optimism that it's a slam dunk that it would happen. It definitely isn't going to be a Sauce Gardner type situation, but I do wonder what the plan is for him in the slot versus outside. And long term, everyone wants to bring up the Super Bowl when he was covering, I believe it was Deebo Samuel, and did well. That's not really repeatable. Like, I think the ball skills and the lack of arm length and height does come back to bite you at a certain point. But back to your original question, the Rams absolutely need a cornerback, if not two, if not three. They have another first-round pick from the Falcons that they can keep that's a more premier selection. So maybe if you do give up, I believe it's 29, and you give up something on day 3, maybe a pick swap, maybe even you up it to a fourth-round pick, that wouldn't be a bad return for the Chiefs. It would get some money off the books. You'd get another crack at a fifth-year option, get back into the first round. So I see the logic of it, absolutely. But personally, I would ever so slightly lean, both predictive and what I would do, that they're going to hold on to Trent McDuffie and figure something out.
I'm with you. I mean, the idea of trading Trent McDuffie, it looks good on the surface until you look at, okay, Jalen Watson's an impending free agent. Ryan Cook's an impending free agent. You trade McDuffie and potentially lose those two guys through free agency before you can sign them to an extension. Your secondary goes from being the strength of your defense to quite possibly its biggest weakness for a unit that has a lot of holes in it already. Jordan, appreciate you taking the time this morning, my man. Enjoy it as always. Glad we got to talk a little bit of NBA here this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day and a happy President's Day.
Yeah, Logan, thanks a lot, man. You too.
All righty, that is Jordan Foote. He's a writer-reporter covering the Kansas City Chiefs for Heavy Sports. More coming up. We may talk ourselves about the NBA All-Star Game a little bit because I was actually kind of excited going in.
The Chiefs should strongly
I go back and forth
with the format, not to mention
with the trade Trent McDuffie thing. Okay, and there's a really
don't pay hundreds of dollars out of pocket. Don't settle for an outside system. Look to your doctor to make your insurance. At Synergy Next, you get powerful and covered by your insurance. Synergy Next is working closely and customize for maximum effectiveness and safety. And this February, we'll offer free testosterone tests and discounted peptides and shields once to make getting your life back as easy as possible. Don't miss this option. You go to Synergy Next or LoganCenter.com and book today.
February romance once again. Buy one toilet, get one. Call Connolly at 903-768-3676 or visit ConnollyPlumbing.com. This is Kevin Harlan, and I'm here with Rob Cool. I show up a record-breaking year and a successful run.
with the trade Trent McDuffie thing every day, and there's a really interesting simulator. It's called Stick to the Model that is.
That's right. And we're going even harder. More inventory, more aggressive trading value, and a buying experience other dealers just can't match.
Well, you're not just talking, you've got the receipts. Kansas City's only top-rated Ford dealer on Google, 4.8 stars, nearly 20,000 reviews. Voted best car dealership in Kansas City by KC Magazine.
The recognition matters, but what actually matters is how you feel when you call or visit Rob Knight.
Inventory value transparency, no pressure. That's why people keep coming back.
Come see us at 135th and State Line or visit us online at ROVSIGHT.com.
Outside 4, buy right, try happy.
Blue Creek Wagyu is here to prove there's never been a better time to follow through with your resolution to eat better. Heart-healthy, low-cholesterol, authentic American, full-blooded Wagyu steaks and beef will help you hit all your goals this year. Blue Creek has 2 convenient locations at 95th and Knoll and 135th and McCall, where they sample mouth-watering Wagyu every day, and their beef experts will lead you to the perfect cut. Crafted for
Did that guy just pronounce Metcalf Metcalf?
Yes, and Fisco and Dusty's listeners love it.
Sure.
They reference it like every time the guys do on air, so you should absolutely bring it up. There's nothing. The morning audience is the only one that listens that closely to stuff like that, but they love stuff like that. You could say, like, we're coming to you live from Shawnee Mission Parkway in Metcalf.
As much as my wife may disagree with this statement, I don't consider myself a grammar police by any means.
Careful there, man. Anytime you start with as much as my wife doesn't like this, just
I don't like it. I really don't like it. But apparently, this is a growing sticking point on the morning show. That commercial.
it's Booth Creek Wagyu. That's right. And where are they located? That's right. Who would pronounce CALF as cough? In what context is that not calf? Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant. I hadn't even thought about the fact. I hadn't even made that connection between calf and beef. Oh, wonderful. Look, I believe your story about you correcting your wife because you freaked out when you heard that. The look on your face was one of discomfort.
There are some things down there. Okay? There's a city in southwest Missouri. It is actually it's pronounced Logan. Okay? It's spelled it's a French D-O-I-S. That's the first word. Second word, D apostrophe A-R-C. It's actually in French it's water.
Yeah, Bois d'Arc is also what I would have guessed. Mm-hmm. And see, these are just like, we're making these up. Lebanon, great place for a float trip, by the way. No, yeah, we're just making these up because like Nevada is the regular way that we pronounce the state all the time, whether you think that's right or not. Lebanon is the way we pronounce that all the time, collectively around the United States, whether or not that's right. So like, why are we making like Bois d'Arc is probably the correct, like grammatically correct, right? Way to pronounce it. So yeah, Versailles. Yeah. Yeah. But the thing, Metcalf is different because calf is such the plain pronunciation. Yeah. So he sent that audio sample in, and just nobody along any step of the way was like, hey man, yeah, can you give us a second read through here? Metcalf. Wait, is it spelled? All right. Well, it's not pronounced Miami. They can pronounce it that way all they want.
I grew up about 15 minutes from Kearney, Missouri, and you have Kearney, Missouri, but you have Kearney, Nebraska.
Hmm. Another one that we're just making up. I didn't know there was a Kearney, Nebraska, but like that's also the way that I was. Like I was surprised when I was a kid, and I grew up around here, so I learned pretty quickly that there was a Kearney, Missouri. That's how you pronounced it, but I would have thought it was Kearney. I'm sure. Metcalf is not debatable.
And I got Logan Weber alongside Nathan Williams. You're listening to the 95
Water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big. Oh, let me make an announcement. Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pod. Stop paying for watered down detergent. Pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pod. Water content based on the leading market liquid detergent.
At the UPS store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies now. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come to your local store today. More locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation here. See such for details. The UPS store. Be unstoppable.
The excitement of the Winter Games is well underway. You know why betting the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense? From game lines to medal counts to finding your angle on the events you care about, FanDuel is giving you more ways to stay connected to the winter action. The Winter Games are on. There's no better way to follow them than placing a bet over with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. The Winter Games will be over before you know it, so make sure that you're catching up with all the action with our friends over at FanDuel. So whether it's our curly magically starts slow and somehow gets hit fast, or skating decided by inches, hockey games are different from the opening face-off and so much more. You can bet all of the Winter Games action with our friends over at FanDuel. Active action and different events and contenders every single day of the season. So remember this. Visit FanDuel.com/local to get started. FanDuel.com/local. FanDuel, play your game. FanDuel is the official sportsbook of 96.5 The Fan. 21 President Missouri, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, Roberts, the drive on 95 The Fan. We're excited to announce the launch of Beyond the Pitch KC, a limited podcast series documenting the run of the World Cup with our friends over at 98.1 KMBZ.
Hey, Rob, I'm Scott Hartson, and parts of KMBZ Beyond the Pitch KC will feature the biggest names who made the World Cup and KMBZ possible. Plus, the biggest storylines heading into this summer's tournament.
This is not a podcast about soccer. Don't get us wrong. This is a podcast about Kansas City. This is a podcast for Kansas City. And this is a podcast that'll tell the story of how our team is hosting the world's biggest sporting event. New episodes are released every Wednesday starting on March 4th, as well as video clips that can be seen on 95 The Fan and KMBZ's social channels. Subscribe and download to Beyond the Pitch KC, limited podcast series with myself, Rob Bretton, on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Advent Health welcomes the KC Golf Show, February 27th through March 1st at the Overland Park Convention Center. Grab front door bonus golf while it lasts. Enjoy the final stretch zone. Saturday's women's event contest big grants with Golf Inc. at the Golf Show, February 27th through March 1st. All at the OP Convention Center. Thanks to Genesis of Kansas City, Orange Whip, RMI Golf Carts, Arnold Palmer Spike, Yingling Flight, Hereford House, WHB, Alabama Golf Trail, Edward Jones, and Tito's Podcast. Special tickets at KansasCityGolfShow.com.
Follow us on Instagram for behind-the-scenes content at the Fan 965, KFOC FMNA at Princeton 1 and ACC Kansas City, and Odyssey Sports.
I'm receiving the information. So Kearney, Missouri, and the city in Nebraska are actually the same. Thursday football game. We have a road game at the University of Nebraska Kearney, USA. And I'm the yes, because we actually lost that game. It was a rough one. That was one of the worst sideline games that I ever got to be a part of. I'm down on the sideline, and I'm talking about.
Because you're listening to 96.5 The Fan. Try to get this case alongside Nathan Williams. You're listening to Kansas City Sports. The Fan. From Kansas State to
Well, I was getting ready to say that the text line, this is their bread and butter, man. This is where they shine. And so I will take the woman on the text line that has lived in both cities as like the expert on this, not some old guy at Unk University. So Kearney, Nebraska it is. I'm satisfied with that.
Kansas City Sports.
And we can still debate the grammar, right? Like that doesn't change, I think, our point from the last segment about maybe it. Right.
Buy your insurance.
3,000 review. Financial Group.
It's a wonderful gift by you. That's fantastic. Valentine's Day. I got some of my nieces in a youth volleyball tournament, so spent a day watching, volleyball in a large. Have you been, by the way, to youth volleyball like ever? Okay, especially like recently, they play at like these massive complexes, and there's like 16 games going on. It's the most like overstimulating experience you can possibly have with all the cheers and the screams and the whistles. But like, supporting family, it was great. It was a good time. Don't get me wrong. But like, I needed like rest after attending that. Okay, yeah, you get it. I also, every time I attend youth sports, because a couple of the girls play volleyball, another one plays softball, and we've had basketball and soccer in our past. So we've run the gamut in recent years of all these sports. I have no idea how you referee these things, man. And every time I attend, I'm just more and more upset with the parents.
We're not playing. I like being out on the floor and kind of getting that experience.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable, and I like working with the kids and like seeing a moment where, like, especially the younger ones, like the third and fourth graders, that are still really trying to learn the game. And when you call it a travel or a double dribble or something, and they're all disappointed, they're embarrassed because they got called for something, and you sort of explain it to them, and then you see them in real time take what you said and like absorb that. And like I had this one little girl a couple of weeks ago, she kept double dribbling, she kept using both her hands.
It's adorable.
Remember, just use one hand. Like once you put two hands on the ball, you can't dribble anymore. And she goes, okay. So she starts dribbling, and I kid you not, puts her left hand starts dribbling. And I'm like, see, like it's so fun to me when they understand.
They're like, where you at, coach? Where you at, mom? Like we haven't told her this in the past? Like, yeah. Oh my goodness. The other day there was a call, and it went against the team that my niece that was playing in the game was on. So like I had reason to not like the call, but it was an out call, an in or out call on the other end of the court, right? Like I'm sitting behind the players. I've got a very bad view of this. I could tell like so clearly that the ball was out, so clearly, like it wasn't close. And there's like half of our parents on our team that are just in an uproar, like hollering at this girl, who by the way is like some college girl that's coaching another team in the tournament that's off. Like she's just doing this because she has to as a coach. Like she's not making money because like just what's the big and you know what my biggest thing is, because like what would be better as a lesson for these kids than overcoming a call that was bad. So when I have kids, I like maybe I want them to have calls go against, maybe like go through a little adversity in this competition. I don't know.
What I can't get behind is at this age, it's about teaching these kids the fundamentals. It's about learning the game, right? Like for me, one thing that I always struggle with, especially with littler kids, third and fourth graders, is they are going to double dribble on occasion. They are going to take the extra step on occasion. I'm not going to call it every single time, right? I'm going to let a kid get away with the third step. And
yeah, but you've got yeah, and also like, do we have action on this game? Like, I know we want our kids to win. We prefer our child to win, but like, it, you know, it's for them to learn. So why are like Jason and Karen, who live on 159th and Metcalf, upset because a player is having a hard time? Like, of course, if a player's not dribbling the ball, like we got to eventually call it to make a point. But like, we want every single, like it's an Elite Eight game and the Final Four is on the line here. Like we're jumping up and like yelling at the ref. Like it just, oh my gosh, it's just every single time I get more and more upset with those parents.
in a game where, mind you, in the league that I referee in, third and fourth grade, they don't keep score. It's 0-0 on the scoreboard.
Oh, that's fantastic. And we all know that if little Billy got the ball back, he wasn't going to make the shot anyway. Do they still travel in packs up and down the court at that age? They do. And there's like a circle around them. Yeah. I do love the chaos that youth basketball and youth soccer brings for that reason. There's not that it makes me smile every time watching those kids just run up and down the field together. It's like you guys have no idea what you're doing, but you're having a great time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's 100%. I don't want to come across like we are absolving those because everyone knows. But like, right, everybody in the complex knows when an umpire or an official is going on one of those, like, or when it's just a parent that's having a bad day, right? Like, that's a pretty clear line. But yeah, that texter's very right. That's the worst.
Impossible to rep these ignorant parents wanting every call for their kids so much college. And that's maybe one thing that drives me completely and utterly insane is more often than not, and I'm just speaking from my own personal experience, because I referee in my little hometown where I still know, a good majority of the people, and especially when I refereed in high school for the youth league, it was never, ever, ever, I shouldn't say ever, on rare occasions, more often than not, it was a parent that I knew never played the game a day in their life. That was one that was the biggest complainers, yellers, screamers in the stands. 9 times out of 10, it was somebody that I could look at and I knew, like, you never played the game. You never played a minute of organized basketball in your life.
And like there's always because and like both like all parents do it, but there's always like a mom that like reacts to a call and says like what like with just like absolute like utter shock, like it's the most significant call she's ever seen a referee make, and it's like we're in the second quarter of pool play in this 8U youth volleyball tournament. Like it is just not a big deal at all, this call that I'm making, and plus just like read the beginner's rule book and you would understand why this call was made. I just the answer, and I know this, is these people are here for themselves, not their kids, and that's the problem with youth sports in a nutshell. But man, just every time. So I'm sorry to derail your question, which was just simply, how was your weekend? It was a good weekend. It was a good weekend.
I'm refereeing 8, 9, 10, and 11-year-old kids. They're still learning the game. And I said earlier, I'll let them get away with travel every once in a while. If they're doing it every possession, if a kid is double dribbling every single time.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan, your home for Kansas City sports.
And I will start getting incrementally more tight.
96.5 The Fan.
Yeah, it's huge false equivalence. Sorry, go ahead. I'll jump on in a minute. Yeah, can you imagine how mad parents would be at youth refs if the refs actually called everything in a youth basketball game? Like, Oh my gosh, they'd be talk about calling the cops. You'd have to have a police escort out of the building if you called every double dribble in those games. It's just a false equivalency. I mean, I understand what the texter is saying. Like the kids need to learn the rules. Like that's why they're playing too. It's just a little bit different than like a multi-billion-dollar company with refs who make hundreds of thousands of dollars in a game where the players are making millions and there's millions of people watching. And we still don't know what a hold is or what a catch is. Like I'm with you on that one. That's a different conversation though. Yeah, Logan, you went to the whatever school. Never mind. I'll stop.
913-516-7965 is our number. We may talk more about this throughout the show. That seems to be getting a lot of people involved in the text line. I may tell you a little bit about my weekend, which, to be completely frank, could have been better. I'll say that. For alongside Nathan Williams, you're listening to 96.5 The Fan, your home for Kansas City Sports.
Yeah, Logan Weber alongside Nathan Williams. You're listening to 96.5 The Fan, your home for Kansas City Sports.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Granger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs, with everything coming right along. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, the one to get it done.
When the cold weather takes over KC, ABMA is the trusted name for keeping your home warm. From furnace repairs to system replacements, we're always watching it on. 72 months on select heating and cooling systems. Trusted by generations of KC homeowners, ABMA is committed to doing things the right way every time. Call 913-732-9993 or visit abma.com. Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-939-1441. 800-939-1441.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Super Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Super Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. I mean,
smarter way to mouth. Try it or your money back. Football season is officially over, but the offseason is just beginning. And 96.5 The Fan will be there every step of the way. We'll be live in Pittsburgh for the NFL Draft Day. One of the biggest offseasons in recent history. There's only one thing you need to listen to right here on your home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
Funny how a question about Nathan Deacon managed to devolve into a 20-minute conversation about youth officiating. But here we go. Somebody just said baseball and Little League is the worst job. Calling balls and strikes. Everyone is mad when the game is taking forever because the kid's throwing moon balls to home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that first year a kid pitch is so bad. Oh my God, it's so bad. Oh yeah, my heart goes out to any umpires who officiate that age of youth baseball. That is horrible.
So far in another team's favor. But there are situations where, like, just for me, like when I'm officiating a basketball game, and there's a team that's up 27-6, right? At the end of the first half or something. And it's like, okay, I understand that it's not going to be as great but if you're a parent on the team and you're real strong about it, but I'm going to be a little bit more lenient on the calls for the team that's down by 20 and a little bit tighter with my calls on the team that's up by 20. Because it's evident for anybody who understands basketball that has two eyes that this team is much better. This team understands the game better. The X's and O's, the whistles of the game. And you're looking at another team that is really, like, they're still learning. They are trying to learn the basics of it. Like, these kids don't really understand the concept of the 2-3 zone all that well. Like, you're trying to make it fun for both sides. And so, yeah, it can be a very much so a win-win situation. It is, for the most part, very, very thankless. But I'm glad you had a good weekend. My weekend was all right. Could have been better. My birthday is next Friday, so my parents decided to buy me and my wife, my younger brother, and my mom and dad, of course, got us tickets to the Iowa-Purdue game on Saturday. Really excited.
Heck yeah.
Obviously, I have, sort of the connection. I'm a lifelong Iowa Hawkeye fan. The new head coach at Iowa is Ben McCullum, who was the coach at Northwest when I went to school there. I spent a lot of time with him and covered his team. And so it was kind of this crazy full circle sort of moment. First time I've ever gotten to see them play since he took over as head coach. Playing Purdue, huge game. And it went poorly. They got blown out. I think 78 to 57 was the final score, and I'm pretty sure they scored 15 points in the last 4 minutes. Like, it was disappointing. First time I've ever walked into a game coached by Ben McCullum and walked away extremely disheartened with what I saw. It was funny. My best friend, his wife, bought him tickets for the same game for Christmas. And so we had a chance to see them, and that was kind of fun. And it was fun to get up to Iowa City. We all, my wife and I, my brother, and my parents, we all packed into one car and made the roughly 4-hour trek to Iowa City and back. Stayed in an Airbnb Saturday night, overtime and half empty at the under 8 timeout. Pretty disappointing. Somebody said it couldn't have been a worse effort than the Jayhawks had. It was pretty damn close. I would say that they are comparable. It was not good. Jayhawks, yeah, that was a tough one for them. We actually, my brother's a KU fan. We watched that at the Airbnb before we left to go to the Iowa game. All around, a rough day. Rough day for the Weber family. Iowa lost in blowout fashion, unattended, after driving 4 hours to see them play. It happens. I am KU.
Yeah, what time was the Iowa-Purdue game? Now, that's a fantastic gift from your parents. I know it was your birthday. Go up to see the Iowa game, spend the family time. Like, I'm not trying to. You guys could have seen both of those games. You could have knocked them both out in one trip. You would have had time to get over to the Iowa game. And then your brother would have just as equally as a bad day as you, because he would have witnessed that in person.
More recent times that I've been at an Iowa game was last Saturday watching them get blown out by Purdue, and a few years ago we drove to Indianapolis. My dad, my brother, my best friend, and I, and watched Iowa get blown out by Michigan in the Big Ten title game. So, having had a tremendous amount of luck with that recently, Saturday might have been worse than losing.
Really?
There was actually a pretty decent amount of fans that were at Carver Hawkeye Arena, and when the play started to file out, it became a very, a lot of Purdue chants happening. Whose house? Our house. Inside Iowa's basketball arena.
Man, worse than driving, 8-9 hours to Indy and watching what happened against Michigan? What was the final score of that game? Oh, I was going to say 38-3. Yeah, I was close. Oh, dang, man.
We got smoked. Iowa was competing there for a little while, and then they ran a big punt, and it didn't work.
That's right. Yeah, Iowa came up, 13 field goals short of Michigan that night? So, close.
God knows that's 913-586-7965. Let's talk a little KU-MU on the other side of the break here. We talked a lot about K-State, the firing of Jerome Tang. We'll get back into that conversation later on in the program. Lest we forget also, we've got Royals baseball on Friday. Spring training games officially begin. They play the Rangers. I want to discuss that as well this morning on 96.5 The Fan. Your home for Kansas City sports.
Have you been seeing these messages on the text line about the audio stream?
No, I don't have a text line login. So.
Yeah, I'm getting a couple of messages about something's wrong with the audio on the stream.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Critical to a good relationship, and that's the problem with erectile dysfunction. It often destroys sexual enjoyment and intimacy. It stresses the love between partners, often to the breaking point. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if you're suffering with ED, you likely know exactly what I'm talking about. But I also want you to know that ED doesn't have to impact your relationship anymore. At Heartland Men's Health, we're ED experts. with our focus on men's sexual health. We've treated tens of thousands of men and have treatments that are effective in well over 90% of cases. I promise you, if you're like most guys, you can get your sex life back, perhaps even performing like you haven't in years. So if ED is affecting you, it's time to get back to better sex, better intimacy, and deeper love. Call us. Just $99 gets you blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com.
If you love seafood, pull up anchor and set sail for Hy-Vee's annual fish and seafood sale. Get a whale of a deal on all your favorites for Lent. Salmon, tuna, trout, and catfish. Seafood lovers shrimp, crab legs, and lobster mac and cheese. Eating seafood twice a week has major health benefits. Count on Hy-Vee to sell only the freshest seafood backed by the Responsible Choice Guarantee. All hands on deck for the annual seafood sale going on now at Hy-Vee.
One thing I love doing is going to Hy-Vee. I love going up and down the aisles and finding everything I need. But sometimes we're just very busy. With 2 girls in high school right now, we are swamped. So we use Hy-Vee's aisles online. I go to the Hy-Vee app or at Hy-Vee.com. I choose the store I want, I select my items, and then Hy-Vee does all the shopping for me. All I have to do is pick it up or, better yet, have it delivered to my home. So I'm going to save time and I'm going to save money. What could be better? Only at Hy-Vee.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's impossible to have a bad day when you start it with Chick-fil-A.
Hi, I'm Miles.
And this is Grant.
And the little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit is
how the fluffy, crispy goodness wakes us up in the morning. The chicken is crispy, the biscuit is soft, it's iconic.
Throw some jelly on it, you could throw some honey on it. It helps me kick off the day.
The hash browns are great. And I really like the shape of them too. Little circles of crispy goodness. Yeah, those early morning chicken biscuits are just great, man.
Mornings are a little bit brighter with the Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit and Simply Orange Juice. Available on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Did you hear? Allstate car insurance now costs even less. So when you bundle with home, you can save even more. Check Allstate first to bundle and save with a new lower auto rate. You're in good hands with Allstate. Not available in every state. Only applicable for new auto insurance business. Rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings may vary. Allstate North American Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
I didn't see this morning, but it's interesting. Just saw a report from Jordan Schultz. The Miami Dolphins are releasing Bradley Chubb. That's a name of intrigue, I would say, if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I know that there was some conversation about the Chiefs maybe trading for him or the Phillips kid during the deadline to try to bring in some pass rush help. Last year, Bradley Chubb, he started all 17 games for Miami. He finished with 8.5 sacks over the course of the season, 8 TFLs. He's got 48 sacks over the course of his 7 years in the NFL. That's an interesting possible fit. I don't know what the market value for Bradley Chubb would be, but certainly more expensive than, say, a running back in the free agent market would be. He was in the middle of a 3-year, $54 million deal when Miami made this decision to cut him. So, he was making about $18 million in AAV during that time with Miami. What would you say now? Maybe 10, 12, $14 million a year? In your opinion, would that be something that the Chiefs should take a peek at?
Guy still had 8.5 sacks last year. That sounds great to me as a
coming
Chiefs
off
fan.
an ACL tear.
Yes. Bradley Chubb, by the way, was part of that Broncos rebuild that failed a few years ago with Russell Wilson. I have been on team draft D-line with your first 2 draft picks for a while now. I think the only way this defense gets back to where it was a couple years ago within the next few years, let alone this year, is young, cost-controlled pass rush. And, of course, that involves the Chiefs hitting on that in the draft, which they haven't done a good job of recently. But you still have to fill out that room, even if I do get my wish. Even if you use picks 9 and 40 or picks 9 plus you get a trade back in the late first for McDuffie, like we talked about earlier, and you use 29 as well. Who do we think is staying in this room year over year? Like Jones, Karlaftis, and Gelati? Like, we don't know that FAU is on the team. We don't know about Omar Norman-Lott's health. You still need bodies in there, and an 8.5 sack body for a guy that might play for around $10-12 million a year. It sounds pretty appealing to me. Not saying I'm a huge Bradley Chubb fan, but like they need help.
Yeah, and his body type, the way that he plays, I think kind of fits what Steve Spagnuolo wants to do. He's got strong hands, a pretty quick first step. You know, he's not a speed rusher necessarily. He's not a power rusher by any means either. You know, he's 6'4", 270, so to speak. So he's not a guy pushing 290 or 3 bills, but he's got long arms. He's got tremendous reach, good enough bend off the edge. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have to break the bank in order to bring him in, I think Bradley Chubb would be an interesting fit.
So Over the Cap's got him valued at about $12 million a year. So I think you were right on with what he might be willing to sign for.
Okay. So, looking at his situation with, say, like Jordan Foote, who we had on earlier, mentioned Kenneth Gainwell as a potential running back free agent option, which still gives you the viability to draft a running back in free agency. His market value, according to Spot Track, is somewhere between $2.5 and $4.5 million. They're saying that the Spot Track is projecting a 2-year, $5.6 to $6 million deal. So you bring in Kenneth Gainwell for the running back position alongside maybe Bradley Chubb. You're looking at what? Potentially $15 million a year to bring those 2 guys in.
Here's how Bradley Chubb gets tricky for me. So Kenneth Gainwell, that sounds fine and well. I then want at least probably by the second round, a running back pick as well. I want Jadarian Price. I want Jonah Coleman. I want someone that is more of a relatively a sure bet. If I get my wish, though, and the Chiefs are using that first couple picks on D-line, well, then they need a veteran running back in free agency and a good one. They need a wide receiver 3 in free agency and a good one. They need a veteran safety in free agency. They need to figure out if Kelsey's coming back, and if not, they need a veteran tight end. So, then the money they have to play with is going to dry up much quicker. I think that's the best team-building route to this is sign a running back, sign a receiver, and draft on the D-line. So do you have money to add a guy like Bradley Chubb? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, someone in the text line just brought this up. They brought up Mike Dana's name. He's making $8 million a year on this Chiefs team right now. I would much rather pay Bradley Chubb $12 million a year. From a productivity standpoint. Let's be completely honest. I mean, a down year for Bradley Chubb in his career has been borderline a career season for Mike Dana so far. He's a bigger body. He can take the beating a little bit better at the line of scrimmage, at the point of attack, than Mike Dana's been able to so far in his career. I don't know how viable it is, but I think it would be an interesting fit.
I guess Dana is still technically on the roster. So, to answer my question of who do we think is going to be on the roster next year, maybe. I don't see it. Mike Dana gave you 1 sack in 2025. I'm trying to pull the numbers up here, but I think you save 9 of the $11 million he's owed next year or something like that if you cut him. There's no way Mike Dana's on this football team next year at $11 million for 1 sack. I mean, we're thinking similar cap hit that Bradley Chubb would incur. Bradley Chubb had 9 times the production as Mike Dana coming off of a torn knee. Like, it's just, there's no, I do not expect Dana, Omenihu, Nadi, Pinnell, any of these guys they've been running it back with. I don't think any of them are back next season.
Yeah, you cut Mike Dana, you save yourself $9 million.
I think he's got like a $1.5 million dead hit or something minuscule.
2.1.
Okay.
Yeah, $2.1 million dead cap hit versus the total cap hit, if you were to keep him on the roster, would be $11.1 million.
Unacceptable.
So you're saving $9 million by ridding yourself of Mike Dana's contract on this Chiefs team. I can't imagine that he's going to have a huge free agent, hoopla that surrounds him. So you could probably cut Mike Dana and bring him back for $3 million a year.
Yeah, they could play the game they've played with guys like Derek Nadi and Mike Pinnell with him. I'm sure they can get him back for a 1 year, $2.5 million deal once his market doesn't materialize. I still am not interested in that, but I mean, they could.
But as a depth piece, instead of using him as a depth piece the way you are now and paying him $9 million,
If you're in this hypothetical where you're starting Chubb and Karlaftis, Gelati's your third D end. Man, I want that fourth one to come from the draft. I want youth instead of a washed up veteran. I really do.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but I'm extremely curious. The whole this having the 9th overall pick thing, I go both ways on it because it's exciting. You're going to have a big time talent that you will be able to draft to bring into this situation, into the building, whether it's, and I'll lead with the one that I would like to see the least, whether it's a Jeremiah Love, if you go running back with the 9th overall pick, which I would despise, or you go after a wide receiver, say Carnell Tate somehow falls to you at 9 and you can bring in a wide receiver like that. You bring him in, he may already be the most talented wide receiver in the room. If you were to draft, if he were to somehow be there at 9 and you were to pick him, or if they fall in love with a Jordan Tyson or a Mekhi Lemon from USC, or if it's a defensive lineman, whether it's Ruben Bain, because I've seen mocks of him falling all the way to number 9, which would shock me. I think he's a top 5 talent in this draft.
I don't think Bain or Bailey are coming to number 9.
I don't think so either. I really continue to be impressed by the film I see of Peter Woods out of Clemson.
It's my guy as of this moment. Yeah.
Even the kid from Florida. Like, I didn't know much about him prior to the senior game thing and the Senior Bowl. He was really impressive during that Senior Bowl, during the open practices and the one-on-ones and then the game itself. Or, hey, I don't think there's a strong likelihood that you're going to be able to retain Brian Cook. So if Caleb Downs is sitting there at 9, I have no problem with it. The terrifying part is that there's so many good options out there, and there's so many holes on this Chiefs team. It makes me, we really have no idea where they're going to go here. And that's kind of wild.
Well, there's two schools of thoughts. There is draft a good player, just draft good players, the best player available, or fill a need.
Right.
That's much easier to evaluate at pick 30, 31, 32, which is what we're used to over the last decade in Kansas City. So, I think Caleb Downs, when all is said and done, I would say if I had to pick anybody in this draft for who do you think is most likely to go to the Hall of Fame, be a perennial All-Pro, be the best player out of this draft, I think it's Caleb Downs.
I don't disagree.
I'm sorry, though. I don't think Brett Veach of the Chiefs have the luxury to approach this draft this way, and that sucks, having the 9th overall pick. Maybe they will. Maybe I'm being too short-sighted as a fan. Man, I think they have missed too long and too hard with too many significant assets on the D-line. I think it has to be fixed this offseason. So, hey, look, if they come away with this and I'm speaking of hypotheticals, they bring in Bradley Chubb and trade for Myles Garrett, but somehow still have the number 9 overall pick, heck yeah, I want Caleb Downs on this team. I don't think it's realistic at this point in time.
Yeah, there's gonna need to be a Brett Veach master class over the next couple of months, because you're in a situation right now where before the new league year starts and the new salary cap shifts, you're $54 million in the red right now. Even with the salary cap shift, you're still about $35 million in the red. You are dead last in the National Football League in dead cap. You have a worse salary cap situation than the New Orleans Saints right now. Think about how terrifying that thought is.
There's so many easy moves, though. I mean, just redoing Mahomes, moving on from Jawan Taylor.
Moving on from Dana.
Moving on from a guy like Dana. And then I think I would rework the contracts on the O-line, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. I would hit those restructured buttons before I would hit one like Chris Jones, Karlaftis Bolton. But you can get to $50 million or so in the plus pretty easily.
Right. But then you got to think about signing contracts for guys that you need to retain, right? I mean, if Travis Kelce decides that he's coming back, you're looking at, okay, well, we're going to pay Trav to come back for yet another season. You've got 30 guys that are impending free agents right now. You've got to bring in a decent number of those guys just to fill out the roster because you don't have enough draft capital to put into spots 46 through 53 this season. You have a limited number of picks. You've got a lot of holes that you need to fill. So a lot of these guys are going to need to come back on some level of free agent extensions. You're going to have to work yourself out of more money than just enough to retain the guys that are going to be free agents. If you want to go out and sign these guys to come into, an effective, productive running back, you're going to have to free up a lot more room than just cutting Jawan and Dana and possibly even a Drew Tranquil. I know that's not a very popular name, but I think his contract suggests you may consider cutting him in order to afford to bring back, say, a Leo Chenal or a Jalen Watson or maybe a Brian Cook, although I think that's the far less likely of those three options. 913-586-7965. Somebody in the text line just asked, when might we start seeing cuts? We'll continue. We'll discuss that here when we come back. Logan Weber, Nathan Williams, 96.5, The Fan.
You're listening to Logan Weber and Nathan Williams on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan.
This is Kevin Harlan, and I'm here with Rob Seid of Rob Seid Ford. Fresh off a record-breaking year and a successful run at Ford's 2025 Top Volume Award. Rob, how did you do it?
Kevin, it's simple. We pulled out all the stops on price, on trade values, on inventory, and made sure our customers got an experience they couldn't find anywhere else.
Well, the race isn't over. 2026 is here, and you're back in the chase again.
That's right, and we're going even harder this year. More inventory, more aggressive trade-in values, and a buying experience other dealers just can't match.
Well, you're not just talking, you've got the receipts. Kansas City's only top-rated Ford dealer on Google, 4.8 stars with nearly 3,000 reviews. Voted best car dealership in Kansas City by KC Magazine.
The recognition matters, but what actually matters is how you feel when you call or visit Rob Seid Ford.
Inventory, value, transparency, and no pressure. That's why people keep coming back.
Come see us at 135th and State Line or visit us online at robsight.com.
Rob Seid Ford. Buy right. Drive happy.
The excitement of the Winter Games is well underway. Want to know why betting the Winter Games on FanDuel makes sense? From game lines to medal counts to finding your angles and the events you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. Curling matches that start slow and get tense fast. Bobsled runs that go by in a flash. Speed skating decided by inches. Hockey games that feel different from the opening faceoff, and so much more. Me personally, I have a wager placed on the United States to win gold in hockey. The Winter Games are packed with action, with different events and contenders every single day. You'll want to keep up with all the action over on FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/local to get started. That's FanDuel.com/local. FanDuel, play your game. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official sportsbook of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I hope you're sitting down. The ACA Marketplace has announced significant increases on monthly premiums with deductibles over $10,000. You can enroll with Matt B. and KC at BBS Insurance's Freedom of Choice plan now. You don't have to wait. Their plan lets you use any doctor, has zero outpatient deductibles, and it's 30 to 60% lower costs than most Obamacare plans. Also, there's no income disclosure required, so no potential tax penalties. If you are a small business owner or pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, Call Matt B. in KC for an instant quote over the phone at 816-205-4664. That's 816-205-4664. Or go to bbsinsurance.net. That's bbsinsurance.net. They will customize a plan chosen and managed by you, not the government.
I'm Piera Palazzolo, VP of Digital Marketing for the American Management Association, a company focused on the management training skills needed to enhance the careers of business professionals. We did our research when it came to the best companies for website development and chose AmericanEagle.com. And we couldn't be happier. AmericanEagle.com worked closely with us to understand the front and back end requirements needed to launch an e-commerce website that could handle the complexities of running thousands of seminars nationwide. Our robust new website and improved SEO saw immediate increases in site traffic and web revenue. If you're in need of managerial effectiveness and success, visit our website at amanet.org. If you're in need of a website that provides an unparalleled consumer experience, I highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Transform your business today. Dial 877-WEB-NOW-1 for a free digital consultation with AmericanEagle.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the DM Injury Law Studios. Mike's got this.
Car, truck, or motorcycle wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Somebody in the text line in 816 was asking when we might start seeing cuts for this Chiefs team. And I don't know if it has to be before the new league year begins, depending on who the player is. I would expect you would start seeing some in the next couple of weeks. I would anticipate you need to prepare yourself for some of these cuts. Prepare yourself for a decision regarding Travis Kelce, whether he is going to come back next year or he is going to retire. That's going to have to happen probably in the next couple of weeks. Just knowing how the NFL works and how Trav is, he has so much respect for this organization that if the decision is that he's going to retire, he's going to want to let the team know sooner rather than later so they can prepare themselves for impending free agency as well as for the NFL draft if they're going to look for a replacement, which I believe they should if Trav retires. I like Noah Gray as a number 2 tight end, but I just don't think he's a starter in this. Well, I did before last season.
Yeah.
The struggles last year were incredibly, incredibly evident. But as a backup tight end, okay, not as a starter in this league. Somebody and I got one. Are the Chiefs using the franchise tag on anyone? I doubt it. I think the only franchise tag eligible player is Trent McDuffie. And I don't think they're going to wear out the possibility of tagging McDuffie until an extension is completely out of the window, because right now he's got the 5th-year player option. So they would have a whole nother year before they decided they were going to use a franchise tag or anything like that.
Well, this is year 5 coming up, right?
Correct.
This is year 5. So
yes.
yeah. So I think with Trent McDuffie, with the cap situation the team is in, with how many holes they need to fill, if you are keeping McDuffie, you could probably work out his extension in a way that softens his cap hit for this year, included in that deal. If you're not going to do that, well, then I want you to bring back Jalen Watson with the money you save. Jalen Watson's going to cost less than Trent McDuffie would, but I'm just talking about Trent McDuffie's current cap hit that'll be off the books. And then also you'll have an extra asset you can pick up through the draft because you'll get a 1st or 2nd round pick at the top of that trade package. So I think because of the spot this team is in, you do really need to make a decision on him, either pay him or trade him quickly at the start of this offseason. I think we're getting Travis news within the month, and then I think it's Monday, March 9th is that unofficial free agent window, and then it's that Wednesday where they can start officially. But we'll start getting news that Monday. That Monday and Tuesday will be the hot and heavy days on Twitter where news is breaking all day. So I would imagine that first week of March is when we're getting a lot of the cuts. We have Travis news by then. The combine will be done. That week in there is where teams are really laying out their offseason plans. So I would think that's when we get that sort of news.
I got a 785 just asked, did Fesco get fired? No. Bob did not get fired. Dusty did not get fired. It's just President's Day. So they're getting a day off today. We got a lineup of bullpen guys for today's programming here on this holiday Monday. 913-586-7965.
I heard Bob was having breakfast with John Sherman and Laura Kelly.
Oh, really? Okay. Hey, man.
Jokes.
Maybe I'm just gullible. I believed you. Can they tag Brian Cook? No, I don't believe they can.
Second round pick?
Well,
he was in that same draft that Karlaftis and McDuffie came in, right? Wasn't he their second round pick that year?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how those. All I know is the 5th-year rookie player option, but I know there's some situations in which you can tag for a 6th year. There's some situations in which a non-first-round pick can receive a tag. I don't know that much about contracts.
Yeah, so, I mean, they would be – they are able to franchise tag Brian Cook if they chose to.
What's the average of the top 5, though, for safeties? Like, what would the hit be?
Around $20 million.
Yeah, pass. Look, he was good last year, and he's recovered well from that ankle injury he had a few years ago when he snapped his ankle in that Green Bay game, which was, just like props to him. I'm out on him even at that 14, 15 million a year range that we've been discussing that his market could be, let alone 20.
Yeah, so the Chiefs, I take it back. The article that I'd read earlier said franchise tagging Trent McDuffie. They could tag McDuffie, even though he's coming up on the 5th-year option for the first-round pick nod. They could tag Cook. They could tag Leo Chenal. They could tag Jalen Watson. I don't think that the monetary value makes any sense whatsoever to tag any one of those 3 guys. I don't think they're worthy of top 5 money at their position groups. And that's not a dig on them. That's just, whether I don't think Jalen Watson needs Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, or Pat Surtain money. I don't think that we're in that vein.
He's the only one I'd be willing to even consider. If you were trading Trent McDuffie, then you overpay him for 1 year. But that's if you couldn't work out a longer-term deal with him. And I think you're going to, if you want to bring him back, and if you want to trade McDuffie, you're going to need that answer on Jalen Watson first.
Yes.
Does he want to re-sign with us? At what number? I want to lock him up before he goes to market even, if possible. I'm not trading Trent McDuffie and then contacting Jalen Watson. So I don't think there's a situation in which he would get tagged. But at the value, he's the only one I would even think about.
Yeah, I would agree. But for $30 million a year, roughly, for a DB would be astronomical.
I agree with you value-wise, no. But, I think he's closer to that than, Leo Chenal is to what the linebacker number would be, or Cook is to a $20 million a year safety, those sorts of things.
913-586-7965. More coming up, including some Royals baseball conversation. Stick around. Logan Weber alongside Nathan Williams, 96.5, The Fan.
You're listening to Logan Weber and Nathan Williams on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
At the UPS store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS store. Be unstoppable.
The last 3 days of the winter sale is happening now at Peter's Clothiers. Save up to 50% off all suits, sport coats, and sportswear. Save big with sizes to fit every man. Peter's Clothiers, 124th and State Line Road.
This is Blake Fanning with Shawnee Mission Ford.
Ford has just announced an additional $2,000 in bonus cash that we are passing on to you, our customers. Shawnee Mission Ford is going to combine that with our large discounts and top trade allowances to save you thousands. You can save up to $9,000 off MSRP on 25 Explorers, $7,000 off MSRP on 25 Broncos, $6,000 off MSRP on 25 Bronco Sports, and $5,000 off MSRP on 25 Expeditions and F-150s. Shawnee Mission Ford, on a mission to do more in 26.
Stay warm and worry-free with Hamilton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Rooter. Get a new furnace absolutely free with the purchase of select HVAC systems. The pros at Hamilton make upgrading easy with flexible financing, expert installation, and energy-efficient options that can help lower your monthly energy bills. Over 40 years experience and more than 8,000 five-star reviews, plus our exceptional service guarantee, are great reasons to trust Hamilton. Visit callhamilton.com/radio for details, terms, and conditions. License number 2025-11121.
That's another amazing run by Team USA.
Mom, think I'll be on Team USA one day?
Well, I'll take this one.
What? Are you speaking to us?
Yes, and to answer your question, anything's possible, especially with Xfinity.
So, I can be the best snowboarder ever?
Well, I can't guarantee that, but Xfinity can guarantee that your internet price won't change for 5 years.
Okay. What if I practice every day?
Then maybe you'll be snowboarding for Team USA at the next Olympic Winter Games. And Mom, you'll still be paying the same price for Wi-Fi.
Ooh, really stuck the landing there.
It's the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get our best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed, just $50 a month. Plus, get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 value per month. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
Beyond the Pitch KC. New episodes on Wednesdays starting March 4th. 96.5 The Fan. KFNC FM and AM. HD1 and HD2 Kansas City. In Odyssey Sports Station.
Ladies and gentlemen, an exclusive. We have been able to obtain a phone call conversation regarding Kansas State's firing of Jerome Tang.
Really?
I'll play it for you now.
Not without cause, Michael.
I have cause. It is because I hate him.
That's the first thing I thought of last night was that clip from The Office where they're talking about firing Toby. Michael's talking to the general manager, and he's like, I want to fire him. I can't just fire him. He's like, not without cause, Michael. I have cause. Jerome Tang. It's because I hate him. Nope, not how that works. Sorry. Yeah, that's what K-State's trying to do right now. Athletic Director Gene Taylor announcing last night that Jerome Tang is officially out as the head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats men's basketball program, and in the midst of a situation where they are trying to fire him for cause because of some sort of language in his contract about embarrassment to the program for some of the ways that he's handled these post-game press conferences, attacking members of the media, attacking the Big 12 Conference, ridiculing the NCAA and the rule changes, his players, taking their names off the back of the jerseys. I understand why they're trying to do it. You know, from a business standpoint, you would obviously try this. It's not going to hold up. They're going to pay the man the $18 million buyout. That's just the way it is. Somebody in the text line, you teased KU-MU talk 2 breaks ago. Did I miss it? No, you didn't. I just procrastinated. Fired him cause he sucks. I don't think that would hold up in a court of law, but I appreciate the sentiment. It was not good. I will say that. But talking about the other 2 teams regionally here, MU and KU from the weekend, it was a rough weekend all around, I think for everybody. Unless you're an Iowa State fan, I don't think you enjoyed your local college basketball this weekend. Because I know for me, my Iowa Hawkeyes got blown out. K-State lost and fired their coach. Maybe that's the most positive thing from the weekend. And KU blown out in their own right in the state of Iowa on Saturday, losing to Iowa State 74-56. Man, it was an all-around rough game. Melvin Council probably played the best game of anybody on the roster on Saturday.
He was much more efficient than he was last Monday.
Yeah, Melvin Council makes me nervous. I'm not even a KU fan, but he makes me nervous every time he touches the ball. Because it seems to me, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but watching Melvin Council play feels to me like he predetermines what he's going to do. It seems like when Melvin Council catches the ball, you can immediately tell whether or not he's going to shoot it. Like he decides before he gets the basketball, like next time I touch it, I'm going to try to make something happen. Like he tries to force the action, and sometimes that works out really well, and sometimes I think that it is ultimately his undoing. I mean, he was efficient, 6 of 11 from the floor last night. He hit 3 threes early on in the game, and it was sort of like, I remember CDOT sent a tweet out that was like, if Melvin Council's hitting shots like this, Iowa State stands no chance. That changed rapidly. But he also had 4 turnovers in this game. Where like sometimes he just gets going a little bit too fast and tries to, like I said, force the issue. He tries to push the envelope a little bit, and sometimes it comes back to bite him, like what happened in that Arizona game where you go 6 of 25 from the floor. Like, Melvin, sometimes it's okay to just swing the rock, my guy. But on Saturday, that was not his best course of action because the rest of the team had a rough game, okay? I mean, Flory Badunga was KU's second best player, and he had 11 points on 13 shots. But he brought in 13 rebounds. He defended well enough. He had 5 offensive boards in this game, which was probably what led to quite a few of his made or missed shots in this game. Bryson Tiller, as good as he has been the last couple of weeks, I thought he was so incredibly timid when it came to his shooting. He took 2 shots. He made them both. Made all 4 of his free throws. But he just didn't seem to want to, like, he doesn't seem to be at that point yet where he's like, you know what? I'm going to go get us a bucket here. Melvin Council has way too much of that at times. Bryson Tiller has way too little of it at times. Trey White, 0 for 3 in this game, limited minutes. He didn't play particularly well. Darren Peterson did not play well. He didn't play basically the entire second half of the game on 10 points on 10 shots.
Which I am stunned to learn of that development.
Oh, yeah.
That
I mean, wow.
Shocked me.
Absolutely shocking to see Darren Peterson on the bench for an extended period of time.
Hey, at least he's feeling better.
That's true. So they say. And then the bench did nothing. I mean, you got 10 bench points, 2 from Cole Rosario on free throws, and you got 8 from Elmarco Jackson, who played all right coming off the bench. 8 points, 3 of 6 shooting. But Jamari McDowell 0 for 2. Jaden Dawson 0 for 2. It just, and on the flip side, this Iowa State team is damn good. And I hate saying that. I absolutely hate it because I despise Iowa State and I despise Nebraska. But Iowa State's a good ball club. Joshua Jefferson is an absolute foul merchant, in my opinion, but he's a good ball player. And the Momcilovic kid, every time he shoots it, it feels, I mean, it's going in. Even the one, I mean, that wild shot he had, the fadeaway going to his left from behind the, I mean, just, and buried it. Like, as soon as it left his hand, you're like, that's good. We're going to the other side of the floor here. The Torrey kid didn't play well. Taman Lipsy didn't play well, but it didn't matter, right? I mean, because Jayhawks struggled so bad from the floor, 37% shooting, it just didn't seem to matter in this game. You know, Josh Jefferson just had to do enough, get himself to the free throw line 9 times. The Momcilovic kid seemingly makes everything he shoots. That was a rough one for the Jayhawks because it was a complete 180 from the way that they've played recently. Right? I mean, That win streak that they were in the midst of included beating that same Iowa State team by 21 points about a month ago in Lawrence. And you turn around and lose to them by 18. I know you're on the road. Losing the game on the road at Iowa State, I don't have a problem with. Hilton is a mammoth of an atmosphere in the Big 12. But to lose by 18 after you beat that same team by 21 on your own home floor, you just beat the number one team in America who was undefeated at the time without Darren Peterson earlier in the week. And then you turn around a few days later and lay an egg like that. That's a tough one to stomach. And, now you're holding on to the same record as Iowa State. You're both 9-3 in the league. You're tied now with Texas Tech because they turned around and beat Arizona Saturday night as well. You think you win the game, all of a sudden you're second in the Big 12. You're a game back of Houston for the lead in the conference with a matchup against Houston looming Monday, on February 23rd. Mm-hmm. They got a shot to bounce back. I still have a lot of faith in this KU team. I think that this is a KU team that, and I said last week because we had somebody in the text line that said, this Kansas team feels like the kind of team that will lose in the round of 32 to some random 6 or 7 seed or 8 seed. And I disagree. I think that this KU team is closer to an Elite 8 team than a team that doesn't make it out of the first weekend.
I think this is a second weekend team. Now, I think a lot of the calls that this could be a Final Four team even without Darren Peterson, which came following the Arizona game, were a little bit maybe quick.
Presumptuous.
And you touched on it a second ago. I just think the depth is not there when Peterson's, in general, but when Peterson's not on the floor, if you don't have a guy let's talk about that Arizona game. Bryson Tiller in the first half from beyond the arc, which is awesome. He's the reason that they were even in that game. And then it was Flory in the second half just doing absolutely monstrous things. I mean, he was electric in the second half. So it wasn't like this well-rounded, everyone pitched in equally. I mean, Melvin Council was not good in that game. It was just hero ball kind of, which is fine. They survived. They won against a great opponent. I look at this team in March without Darren Peterson on the floor. And I'm like, the second that a Flory gets in foul trouble, I think it's scary hours for Kansas really quick.
Yeah.
Or the second that they're not hitting shots, it gets scary really quick. Now, of course, you take the presumptive number one overall pick off of anyone's team, they get worse. That's not a shot at Kansas. But I think even without Darren Peterson, I would expect them to make it out of the first weekend of the tournament. I think it's a little unfair to say they're going to lose in the round of 32 to a rando.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, across the state line over in Columbia, yikes. Mizzou blown out in their own right, 85-68 against Texas. They hung around. I mean, this was a back and forth first half between these two teams. And then when that final 20 minutes of play started, things unraveled quickly for the Missouri Tigers as they lose this one by 17. Again, like I said, it's 33-32 at the break. And they hung around there for a little bit longer after that. I think at the under 16, or right before the under 16, it was 39-37, 41-39 was the score at the under 16 timeout with 15 minutes to go in the half. They ended up tying it up after they came back from the break at 41. And then things sort of took their turn from there. By the under 12 timeout, you were down by 10, and it just never came back from that point on. Tigers now 17-8. They are not out of the hunt for an NCAA tournament berth by any means, but this felt like one of the more winnable games they have remaining on their schedule. With the rest of your year, you got 6 games remaining. At home against Vanderbilt on Wednesday. They're currently the number 19 team in America. Then you got to go on the road on Saturday and play Arkansas, who's 21st in the country. You're at home next Tuesday against Tennessee. On the road at Mississippi State on February 28th. Oklahoma on the road, at home against Arkansas. So you're looking at 3 home games remaining on your schedule, 3 road games. And of the 3 home games you've got left, 2 of them are against ranked teams. The 2 worst teams remaining on your schedule are Mississippi State and Oklahoma, and you've got both of them on the road. And neither one of those games is going to have this outrageous effect on your seeding. Losing to Texas, in my opinion, Mizzou's got to win 4 of these last 6 to get in, barring some Cinderella run through the SEC tournament where you get all the way to a semifinal or the final of it. You win 4 of your last 6, you get to 21 wins. That means you're going to get a couple of quad 1 wins in that stretch, at least. That's probably your best bet. And you may still have to win a game or 2 in the SEC tournament to get in.
That's what I was about to hop in with, is I think 4 is the number, but I think that still makes for a very uncomfortable selection Sunday, and would need to be padded with some tournament success. Do they need to go to the final? No. But they do if they don't get to that 4 number, I would say. So I think we're saying the same thing here. I think unless there is a significant shift, a hot streak that starts now, I think even if they rattle off a couple of impressive wins, it's not going to be a safe feeling until they find out they're either in or out.
Yeah, Joe Lunardi released his latest bracketology last Friday on February 13th, and he had Mizzou as the last team in the field. You then turn around and lose by 17 at home to Texas. That's immediately going to throw you out of the, at least according to Lunardi, the NCAA tournament.
I mean, the last team in, that's I know that Lunardi is already accounting for all of the automatic bids that will come from the conference champions. And I don't know enough about non-Power 4 college basketball to say who this is. There are some teams somewhere in those smaller conferences that would get into the tournament regardless, that are going to lose in the conference championship in their tournament, and some plucky mid-major is going to get in as well. Like, being the very last team in might as well be on the first 4 out, in my opinion. I just think it's going to shift a little bit. You always got to account for a few spots there that'll come from a surprise.
Yeah. And it's got to be the worst place to be in, is when you're on that bubble and all these people are making all this, and you just have to sit there and rely on the committee in the hopes that you're going to get in or not. 913-586-7965. So I hinted at a lot of KU-MU talk. Got it. I want to talk about the Royals. Can we do that? Spring training starts on Friday, their first game against the Rangers. I kind of want to go through some predictions, some superlatives for this season. Who's that guy or 2 that you think might surprise people, might exceed the expectations put on them? And who are some of those guys that may underwhelm a little bit from their previous success? 913-586-7965. Logan Weber, Nathan Williams, 96.5, The Fan.
You're listening to Logan Weber and Nathan Williams on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan.
Hey, it's Cody and Gold, and you guys know Centric Training is where your IT career starts, and the year has started. Have you?
Maybe you were an occupational support specialist, an operations trainer. Maybe just working in sales or outside and you're tired of it. You could have a new career in as little as 4 months to start this new year.
IT jobs are in demand, and Centric's enrolling right now. You can get hands-on training, industry certifications, career placement support over at Centric, and the sooner you start, the sooner you move forward. Visit Centric.com or call today. Centric Training, your IT career starts here.
Acton Health welcomes the KC Golf Show February 27th through March 1st at the OP Convention Center. Grab front door perks while they last. Get golf fit with Paws Studio and P-Volve. Saver buys with Pierponts at Union Station and Booth Creek Wagyu. And hit Golf MD's new Club Zone at the Golf Show February 27th through March 1st at the OP Convention Center. Thanks to Mulligan's Country Club, Great Life Golf, Genesis of KC, Extreme Green, All Seasons Indoor Golf, Surfside, Imperial Golf, and Barry's Golf and Groove. Tickets at KansasCityGolfShow.com.
Have you ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy
courtesy of our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. All you need to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. NBA Futures, lock in your pick on who you think is going to go all the way, whether it's a team to win the championship or win the Western or Eastern Conference. Maybe you think that San Antonio is going to upset OKC out west. Maybe you got any idea who's going to come out of the Eastern Conference. Maybe you like Boston with the possible return of Jason Tatum. Whatever your bet is for the future, visit FanDuel.com/local to get started. Remember, play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, and also 96.5 The Fan. 21 in President, Missouri. No purchase necessary. Limit 1 entry. 4 Profit Boost token. Opt-in required. Must apply Profit Boost token on select market. Restrictions apply. See full terms, including methods of entry at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Start your summer at the Lake of the Ozarks Marine Dealers Overland Park Boat Show, February 19th through the 22nd at the Overland Park Convention Center. The top marine dealers from the Lake of the Ozarks will be on site with the newest boats, personal watercraft, docks, and accessories. Step aboard, compare models, and find the perfect ride for your family. Special show pricing and experts ready to help make your boating dreams a reality. Start your summer at the Overland Park Boat Show. Visit lakeoftheozarkboatdealers.com for more information.
Steve here with Connolly Plumbing Solutions, your neighborhood plumber. February romance once again. Buy one toilet, get one half off. Who needs more jewelry? Nothing is more romantic than a beautiful toilet. Be original with your gift. What could go wrong? You know it's what your person really wants. So call Connolly at 913-768-7676 or visit ConnollyPlumbingSolutions.com to schedule.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
At the UPS store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS store. Be unstoppable.
Hey guys, it's Rob Britton from The Drive on 96.5 The Fan. We're excited to launch Beyond the Pitch KC, a limited podcast series documenting the run-up to the World Cup with our friends at 98.1 KMBZ.
And I'm Scott Parks from Dana & Parks. This is about Kansas City, not about soccer. Telling the story of how our town ended up hosting the world's biggest sporting event.
New episodes drop every Wednesday starting on March 4th, plus video clips on 96.5 The Fan and KMBZ social channels.
Subscribe to Beyond the Pitch KC on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's officially baseball season. While it's not regular season, baseball season, we've got spring training games beginning on Friday. The Royals will be taking on the Texas Rangers. I think it's a 2:05 first pitch against Texas. And so with that in mind, let's talk a little Blue Crew. Let's talk about this Royals baseball team and some of the season superlatives that may follow. So who are some predictions? You know, who are some guys that may exceed expectations? Who are some guys who will dip below their expectations? The first guy that jumps out to me, somebody that I think a lot of people have written off already, and I think unfairly to a certain extent, and I think we'll have a much better year this year. I expect Jonathan India to bounce back. I really do. I mean, he came, it was an interesting situation, the winter trade, Brady Singer, you know, he comes over to Kansas City from Cincinnati, and it just never felt like he was able to get super comfortable in his situation. And then to make a bad situation worse, he spent his entire time with the Reds mostly as the team's everyday second baseman. Comes to Kansas City and he's the second baseman for a little while, and then he's playing left field and he's playing right field. He's playing third base. He's playing shortstop for Bobby on off day. He never was given the opportunity to just stick at second base and make it work. Coming into a new situation in and of itself is hard. But being thrown around to different position groups that he's not super accustomed to playing, I felt like just exacerbated those symptoms and what ultimately led to a down year for him. I'm not saying that Jonathan India is going to come out and hit 270 with 20 home runs and is going to be a borderline all-star at second base. That's not what I'm saying. But Jonathan India is a career like 340 on base percentage. He's like a career 240, 245, 250 hitter. If he can get back to that level, and I believe he will have a great impact on this Royals baseball team. And I think he'll do that. He's one guy that I look at as somebody who can exceed expectations, solidify themselves as the everyday second baseman, given the opportunity to attempt it when he wasn't given that chance last year, really.
I'm looking at Lane Thomas as a guy that I think is going to exceed expectations, and maybe that's because right now there are probably next to no expectations next to Lane Thomas's name. If you're a Royals fan, look, he's been battling injuries the last year or two. Before that, he was a fine player, especially against lefties. So he did hit, I think, 28, maybe 30 home runs in 2023. In 2024, his OPS against lefties was 878. In 2023, his OPS against lefties was 948. So he's very much a platoon-type player. I think he will start that way. I think him and Isbell are probably the most likely platoon, but also like, hey, if Kaggs needs a day off because of a matchup over there in right field, Thomas can slide in. And I also think Thomas they won't have to carry that late inning runner as much as they used to, because they'll have either Thomas or Isbell on the bench every day in order to come in and play the late innings defensively. So I'm looking at Lane Thomas to bounce back from injury, and then, someone's going to go down somewhere. He'll get an extended time, an extended look at some point this season. We'll see how he can do outside of just a platoon, outside of that sort of safe platoon situation. But he would be my bet for exceeding expectations.
And then if we're looking at a guy that may play below expectation, and maybe expectations is the wrong word, but maybe have a worse year than they did a season ago. And I know this is going to be hard to stomach considering the extension that he got this offseason. I can't say that I anticipate Maikel Garcia to have the kind of year this season that he had last season. I still think Maikel Garcia can be a solid player. I mean, Maikel Garcia, to me, feels like somebody who can hit 275, 280 on a regular basis. But do I believe that Maikel Garcia can be a near 290 hitter the way that he was last year and be a near 6 WAR guy the way he was last season? I don't. I see Maikel Garcia being a guy that hits 270, 275. He has a WAR of around 4.6 to 4.8, and that's more than good enough. It certainly warrants the extension that he got, but being an all-star again, hitting 286, with a WAR of 5.8, I don't know if he's quite ready to replicate that yet.
The ones that I'm watching, you took one of them, Maikel Garcia, and just in September, he hit 217 with an OPS right at 600. I don't know if it's just the long season, if they've fallen out of the race. I don't know if he's going to necessarily revert to like pre-2025 Maikel Garcia, but I do wonder how much of last year he can replicate. I'm obviously always watching Salvador Perez because Father Time eventually you would think has to do his thing. He just hasn't yet. The one that I'm picking, though, that I would pick I'm worried that this guy's going to underperform is Seth Lugo. And this, it can be attributed to injury, maybe, but in August, in his last, I think this is 7 starts, an ERA of over 9.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty. And let's be real about what Seth Lugo was a couple of years before he came to Kansas City, and that was a relief pitcher, a long reliever that struggled at times. He has been outperforming his career trajectory the last few years. So couple that with last August for him, which again, I know that he was hurt. I wonder if we're going to get 2024, first half of 2025 Seth Lugo, or if we're going to get 2022 Seth Lugo.
Yeah, if there was one other name I'd throw out, it would be potentially Noah Cameron. Kind of burst onto the scene as a rookie. Nobody really know what to make of him. He's been in the league for a year now. People have tape on him. People have experience under their belt against Noah Cameron. I'm curious if he can put together another sub 3.5 ERA season going into year 2. 913-586-7965. We may have some breaking news coming up in just a little bit, but on the other side of the break, we will have Wyatt Wheeler. He is a writer for USA Today and the Topeka Capital Journal. He covers the Kansas State Wildcats. He has been a part of these post-game press conferences, and he was at yesterday's presser with Athletic Director Gene Taylor to announce the firing of one Jerome Tang. We'll discuss that with him next, as well as some potential replacements for the head men's basketball coach there with the Wildcats. Stick around, 913-586-7965. Logan Weber alongside Nathan Williams here on 96.5 The Fan, your home for Kansas City sports.
You're listening to Logan Weber and Nathan Williams on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5 The Fan.
Low testosterone can be a real problem for many men. It causes poor sleep patterns, decreased energy, low sex drive, and it makes it really hard to stay in shape. And as we all know, a healthy body is very important to our overall health and well-being. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if some or all of these symptoms sound like you, we can likely help you be done with low T. We can also help you lose weight, support your metabolism, improve your gains in the gym, and more with our new targeted body composition plans featuring GH peptides, NAD+, GLP-1s, PDA, and more. Our low T protocols, applied in conjunction with our body composition plans, will help most men see real improvements, true weight loss, higher energy, improved sleep, stronger workouts, and a renewed sex drive as well. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on treatment the same day, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com.
Featured therapies are compounded and have not been evaluated nor approved by the FDA. Provider prescription required. See website for details.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code BOOST to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code BOOST for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code BOOST for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
America, look around. Everywhere you go, prices are still high, rates have been whipsawing markets, and the debt and spending don't exactly scream stability. Experts say diversifying with intention is the #1 secret account that all American smart money uses to hedge against instability. Monetary Gold has been around since 2000, witnessing multiple economic setbacks. If you call now, Monetary Gold will cover up to a lifetime of your IRA fees on qualified accounts. Call Monetary Gold now at 877-NOW-GOLD. That's 877-NOW-GOLD. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
We're going to close out the program tonight with some NFL conversation. A big-time story just hit the timeline that I'm sure will not keep Chiefs fans quiet for very long. We'll discuss that coming up. But on the line with us right now to talk about the big story of yesterday and this morning here in the Kansas City area is the firing of Jerome Tang out as the head man of the K-State men's basketball program. We've got Wyatt Wheeler of USA Today and the Topeka Capital Journal joining us. And Wyatt, but before we get into the decision that ultimately came down from Gene Taylor yesterday and what this situation may devolve into moving forward, you've been with the team, you cover them, you've been at these post-game pressers, midweek press conferences, etc., and seen and felt sort of what has gone on around this team and this locker room. What has been the feeling from your vantage point of how this season has gone and how it's been handled from a Jerome Tang standpoint as well as from a player standpoint?
Dysfunctional is the word that I keep going to. I've covered some strange situations across multiple sports across my time as a sports reporter, and nothing has felt more dysfunctional than this one. Just as far as a week in, week out, never knowing what you were going to get from one night to another. You knew you were going to probably get losses from one night to another once you got the Big 12 play, and they played the way they have. But just knowing it was just the reaction and what you were going to get from the coach was just the strangest thing. Whether it's, the players quit late in the Kansas game, late January when they're within 4 with under 8 minutes left, they end up losing by 24. They lose to West Virginia, and Tang blames the NCAA and its eligibility rules for why they can't build a good program at Kansas State. They lose by 34 at Iowa State, and he says he's proud of the players. And then a little bit later when they play Cincinnati and lose by 29, he just goes scorched earth on them, to where it's just like you never knew what you were going to get from one day to the next. And then you add in just the strange messaging and just the lack of control over this program to where we're sitting here today to where Kansas State's trying to buy him out for cause over some embarrassment language in his contract. And, if you were to solely go off of embarrassment, this would surely be that. But I'm not sure. I don't think that'll hold up. Coaches have said far worse in their press conferences and walked away with millions and millions. There'll be a negotiated sum that they end up coming down to just because of that. Nobody's going to want this to go to Discovery. But this has just been a big mess. And, the players have been fine. The effort isn't there from one game to the next sometimes, but just a terrible, terrible season. And this was just inevitable. And Kansas State's doing what it can now to try to save some money when that would have been a record-breaking near $19 million buyout.
And it seems like a situation that would be almost unfathomable 3 years ago. In year one with this K-State team, he takes him to the Elite Eight. It felt like the sky was the limit for what Jerome Tang could accomplish in Manhattan. From your time covering the team and looking back at the Jerome Tang era, where did it all go wrong? I mean, is there any one thing you could point to that was maybe a catalyst or ultimately maybe the one thing he didn't quite figure out that led to his demise with this Wildcats basketball team?
When you're trying, I mean, the big thing that you can look at is NIL, and just the wrong decisions he made a lot of times throughout that. NIL was less than a year old when he got there. Able to get some NIL deals for some of his better players on the Elite Eight team, but it didn't balloon into what it is today, to where, last year he spends the money, record-breaking money on Coleman Hawkins. Throw some money at a couple players a year before that didn't end up panning out, and but the Coleman Hawkins situation happens, and then he still has this massive NIL budget going into this year. And PJ Haggerty, good player, but he didn't build a roster the way it needed to be a consistent winner in the Big 12, and the return on investment that a lot of people were throwing at this program just resulted in 3 straight NCAA tournament misses. So you look at that. You look at some of the strange things that happened over the last few years too. Whether it's a player getting kicked off the team early in the season, or right before the season starts, because he gets in a bar fight here in Manhattan. He picks a strange fight with the Iowa State coaching staff. Saying that they're spying on his locker, on his huddles during timeouts. Just didn't really make very many friends, and didn't have people to back him up either. When they kept losing and missing tournaments, it just turned into something that couldn't be continued.
So as we wait on how this whole firing for cause situation plays out, and I agree with you, I don't think that it'll hold up. They'll eventually have to give him that $18 million buyout. We're now all curious as to who some of those names are going to be. Where are the interviews going to be, and who are some of the guys that are going to be considered to be the next head coach of this K-State men's basketball program? You came out with an article mentioning a few of those names around. Who are some of the guys, the coaches around the country that jump out to you as potential candidates to replace Jerome Tang?
The name that everybody's going to start with is Josh Schertz at SLU. He's turned St. Louis into a winner. He had Indiana State looking like a winner before he decided to jump to SLU. I think he can wait for the best job available, and I don't think that's going to be Kansas State. I think that there are going to be some big programs that are going to throw a lot of money at him, to where LSU might decide it wants to turn its basketball program around, and it seems to be on its way to making a buyout, firing there, to where it hasn't been a good basketball program, but we know LSU has the money and everything. So I'm not holding my breath for Schertz. Jared Calhoun is another big name. He's going to be out there on a lot of radars. First year at Utah State, already having good success there. One at Youngstown State, didn't know they had basketball in some cases, just because who thinks of Youngstown State in basketball? But he did such a good job there that he was able to rise up. Travis Steele's going to be a hot name just because of what he's doing at Miami, Ohio this year. But the names that kind of jump out to me, just from covering the Missouri Valley Conference for years, I really like Casey Alexander at Belmont. He wins there. He's had some bad luck when it comes to just being in a one bid league, but his teams win. He produces NBA players, and there's some pretty good names that have come out of Belmont, whether they've transferred up and gone to the NBA. But he's a good one to watch. And I also like Eric Olin at New Mexico. Just what he was able to build at UC San Diego before making the move to New Mexico. He's in his first season there, so he's continuing to build. John Gross is another name if Kansas State wants to go back to another former Illinois coach. Seems to be finding another span of success at Akron. After his time with the Illini, it wasn't the worst, but it's going to be a wide net. But it's just scratching the surface. Kansas State's out in front, first school to do this as far as the power leagues. But this is a decent job. I don't think people are going to be scared off by a lot of this, but it's going to be an interesting next few weeks.
Yeah, and it's been an interesting year, I would say, for you. Of course, you and I, we connected in Springfield where we became friends, both down there covering Missouri State athletics, and we both made the move back up to this area at around the same time. And in less than a year, you've had the opportunity to cover a new head coaching hire and now the firing and ultimately hiring of a new head basketball coach. You are getting an introduction to K-State athletics pretty quickly, my friend.
Yeah, no. When the bosses sold me on the job, they were saying that I had a pretty decent chance at a Big 12 contender in football. Of course, they lost to Army in the first game that I covered, and then they said, "Oh, you have a big NIL budget in basketball, and it can be entertaining," and it's been anything but. So. I'm scared for the baseball coach right now. I hope he can win, and there can be some happy stories to write. Track and field is number one in the country as far as indoor goes. So there's some good things going on around here at K-State, but it'll be fun to get to know Colin Klein a little bit, and this will be a new coach at basketball is going to be such a fresh air after. Just what this last month has been. I have never been a part of anything like this. This has just been one thing after another, and Kansas State has finally decided it couldn't go on with this anymore.
Well, they know what they say about this business. There's never a dull moment, that's for sure. Wyatt, appreciate you taking the time this morning, my man. Thank you for doing it on such short notice. I know that I didn't connect with you until this morning, but with this story, it felt like worthy of talking about it, and you were the right guy for it.
Yeah, anytime, bud. Good hearing from you.
Good to hear from you. That is Wyatt Wheeler. He is a writer covering Kansas State athletics for USA Today and the Topeka Capital Journal. He and I have been good friends for a long time, and we spent 4 years working together down in the Springfield area before he made the move over to the Kansas side, and me working over here as well. 913-586-7965. The text line knows about it. I'm sure many of you know about it already. We've got some major breaking news in the National Football League involving a former Kansas City Chief who will now be a free agent once again. We'll discuss that next. Logan Weber, Nathan Williams, 96.5, The Fan.
You're listening to Logan Weber and Nathan Williams on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan.
If you love seafood, pull up anchor and set sail for Hy-Vee's annual fish and seafood sale. Get a whale of a deal on all your favorites for Lent. Salmon, tuna, trout, and catfish. Seafood lovers shrimp, crab legs, and lobster mac and cheese. Eating seafood twice a week has major health benefits. Count on Hy-Vee to sell only the freshest seafood backed by the Responsible Choice Guarantee. All hands on deck for the annual seafood sale going on now at Hy-Vee.
One thing I love doing is going to Hy-Vee. I love going up and down the aisles and finding everything I need. But sometimes we're just very busy. With 2 girls in high school right now, we are swamped. So we use Hy-Vee's aisles online. I go to the Hy-Vee app or at Hy-Vee.com. I choose the store I want, I select my items, and then Hy-Vee does all the shopping for me. All I have to do is pick it up or, better yet, have it delivered to my home. So I'm going to save time and I'm going to save money. What could be better? Only at Hy-Vee.
Don't let winter catch you off guard. Keep your family cozy with a $69 heating system tune-up from Hamilton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Rooter. We have pros available 7 days a week to keep your system running at peak efficiency, helping prevent costly breakdowns, lower energy bills, and keep your home warm all winter long. Over 40 years experience and more than 8,000 5-star reviews are great reasons to trust Hamilton. Visit callhamilton.com/radio for details, terms, and conditions. License number 2025-11121.
Hey guys, it's Rob Britton from The Drive on 96.5 The Fan, and we're excited to announce the launch of Beyond the Pitch KC, a limited podcast series documenting the run-up to the upcoming World Cup with our friends over at 98.1 KMBZ.
And I'm Scott Parks from Dane and Parks on KMBZ. Beyond the Pitch, KC features the biggest names who helped make the World Cup in Kansas City possible. And there was a lot of work, plus the major storylines heading into this summer's tournament.
This is so much more. This isn't just a podcast about soccer.
No, you're right, Rob. It's a podcast about Kansas City. for Kansas City, telling the story of how our town is hosting the world's biggest sporting event.
New episodes drop every Wednesday starting on March 4th, along with video clips that can be seen on 96.5 The Fan and KMBZ social channels.
So make sure you subscribe. Download Beyond the Pitch KC with Rob Brenton and myself, Scott Parks, on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Prostate cancer. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed in their lifetime, but early detection can save lives. That's where KCUC comes in. They're the premier center for urology and oncology, with over 50 elite providers and more than 20 locations across the metro. KCUC makes it easy to get screened fast in the comfort of an office, not a hospital. Schedule your screening today at kcuc.com. Don't wait. Come see Kansas City's largest, most experienced, and most advanced urology team. kcuc.com. At KCUC, you see the best in KC.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9834. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-9834. That's 800-575-9834. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the DM Injury Law Studios. Mike's got this.
Car, truck, or motorcycle wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
They'd already started, but the Bring Tyreek Hill Back to Kansas City campaigns, they got a lot of steam now. The Miami Dolphins this morning, this came directly from Adam Schefter of ESPN, cutting ties with the Cheetah. The 8-time Pro Bowl wide receiver is back on the market once again. He is out after a 4-year stretch with the Miami Dolphins that included 2 remarkable seasons. His first 2 years with the team, back-to-back 1,700-yard years, 20 total touchdowns from 2022 to 23. In his 4 years with the Dolphins, 340 catches, 4,700 yards, 27 receiving touchdowns. Of course, he missed almost all of last year with a serious injury. He had a down year in 2024, 959 yards receiving, 6 receiving touchdowns. And so what happens now? This feels like the quintessential Chiefs move to bring back a veteran, a guy who was on this team before. It makes a lot of sense on paper. Does it make a lot of sense on contract paper? That is my question. What is the market value for Tyreek Hill? Is he going to want to become a free agent and make as much money as possible? Or is he willing to potentially take less to return to the Chiefs? He has expressed interest in the past of coming back to this football team. The question is he going to be willing to take a little bit less money, come back, maybe play with Travis Kelce another year before he ultimately retires, put the whole band back together? I don't know. I personally, I'm not a huge fan of the idea, but if you bring in Tyreek Hill for a year, maybe he can unlock something in Xavier Worthy. I don't know. I go back and forth on it. I'm going to need some more time to think about it.
I think he's the rare case of a player that would be willing, just based on his quotes, his Instagram posts, his tweets.
Yeah, and he already went out and got his, right? When he got that contract with the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, he got his big-time money.
It's a situation where the player feels like he should have won more Super Bowls, and he made a wrong decision that cost him that. I think he's a Kansas City Chief. I don't think obviously no one's surprised that the Dolphins cut him at that number.
No.
And I think we should be equally unsurprised when on the Monday of free agency week we hear that he's a Kansas City Chief.
It's going to be fun to watch over the next couple of weeks. 913-586-7965. Coming up next, we got Mac and Drew and JT. Going to take you the rest of the way. 96.5, The Fan.
You're listening to Logan Weber and Nathan Williams on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5 The Fan.
Are you looking for a